Tavares is suing Smog Station Manager Peter Siwa for unpaid wages, vandalism, and assault.
Court come to order.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 1082, Tavares versus Siwa.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Mr. Tavares, you are, according to your statement, a certified smog inspector.
Correct.
Did you have any special training to become a smog inspector?
Yes, I did.
Tell me what that training consisted of.
It was a year of going to school.
And when did you do that?
2013.
Just so that you understand, I'm asking these questions, Mr. Tavares, because the case is a relatively simple one. Unfortunate, but simple. It is your claim that the defendant hired you to do some work in his shop as a certified smog inspector. He agreed to pay you $120 for the day. He didn't pay you the $120. He offered you substantially less. He says because he looked you up and you weren't a certified smog inspector. That's what you say in your answer.
Yes.
Okay. You have proof of that?
Yes.
Let me see what you have.
This is his score under 40.
This says that follow-up pass rate, Eric Tavares, and it's a fail number with an inspection number. I don't know what that means. Can you explain this to me?
The score, the star score, got to be above 40, 0.40. But his score only 0.30. When I check his score that day, I cannot put him on a station because our station is a star certified. Star certified is supposed to be 0.40 up.
Let's backtrack a little bit. So you are a licensed smog inspector.
Correct.
And you can check cars.
Yes.
There are certain stations that have, I gather from Mr. Siwa's statement, that have 5-star ratings, and certain stations that have 4-star ratings that would have to be, and certain stations that have 3-star ratings. That be correct?
Yes.
And his station is a 5-star station, and his 5-star station would need a pass rate of 40. That doesn't mean you can't do smog inspections if you've got a lower grade than that in other stations. Am I also correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's easy. Okay. You spoke to him on the phone?
Yes.
On what date?
The 21st or the 22nd.
When did he want you to come into work?
Beginning the 23rd, which was Friday.
Just for one day?
He had told me that I was going to come work for Friday and Saturday, and then afterwards he was going to let me know if I could be his permanent replacement.
When you spoke to him on the phone, spoke to him on the phone, you arranged for him to come in on a Friday.
On Friday, yes.
And he came on Friday, which was the 23rd of July.
Yes.
And the agreed price that you came to terms with on the phone was $120.
Yes.
150, not 120. 150.
150?
Yes.
150?
I pay $150 a day, but Friday he come to try out only.
I don't care whether he was trying out or not. He says you agreed to pay him $120. You say you agreed to pay him $150. I believe you. How many cars did you see that day?
Throughout the day, about 4 to 5.
4 to 5?
Yeah, 4 to 5.
At some point, Mr. Siwa told you that there were no more cars, you should go home.
His reasoning was because
No. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, about what time was that?
1 p.m.
Tell me what happened.
He began telling me that I wasn't a good fit, and since I didn't agree with him.
Just a second. He said to you, you're not a good fit for the shop.
Correct.
Did he tell you why?
He said it was because of my work history.
Somebody said to me, you don't get the job because of your work history. It would be a natural question for you to ask, what work history are you talking about?
Correct.
Did you ask him that question?
Yes.
Did he answer you?
Yes, he did. He had told me that it wasn't long enough history to be a good enough fit for the position at the shop.
Okay. And what did you say?
I told him that I didn't believe him because I've been a good technician and I've made 0 mistakes in front of him while I was performing the inspections. So I stuck around and complained about it.
Well, how did you do that?
I requested him to tell me the truth as to why he wasn't allowing me to fulfill my day's work as well as finish the weekend that I was told.
I assume that the voices were raised at this point.
Yes.
So it's not as if you're having a casual conversation like you're having with me. You were yelling at each other.
It was an argument, yes.
Yeah. And this was in the shop.
Yes.
Had he offered you any money
He offered me gas.
initially?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said that I could give you money for gas, but I can't give you anything else for what you worked.
How many cars had you taken care of before 1 o'clock?
5.
Is it true that Mr. Tavares smog tested between 4 and 5 cars prior to the conversation that you had terminating him for the day?
Your Honor, that day he do only 2 cars.
So according to you, he did 2 cars.
Yes, only 2 cars.
Okay.
After he did 2 cars, then okay, I look at his job, so okay, seemed to be okay. Then I asked him his license. So I check it out, the license.
Just a second. Did he show you his license?
No, the score.
No. Did he show you you said I asked for his license. Did he show you his license?
No. When he come in, I don't ask him. He used my license to inspect the car, 2 cars.
Of course. Well, you have a license to inspect cars from the state of California.
Yes.
And you had promised him $150 for the day.
I not promising 150.
Yes. No, yes, you did. You just told me you did.
Eric Tavares claims Smog station manager Peter Siwa owes for unpaid wages, vandalism, and an assault.
You have a license to inspect cars from the state of California.
Yes.
And you had promised him $150 for the day.
I not promising 150.
Yes. No, yes, you did. You just told me you did. Let's go back.
He not working.
I don't care whether he's working or not. You brought him in for $150 a day, according to you. If you decided to send him home because you didn't have cars, that's your problem.
Yes, you had asked, and the agreed price that you came to terms with on the phone was $120. He said $150, not $120.
You agreed to pay him $150. And when you told him to leave, according to you, I'll give you gas money.
Your Honor, I talked with him in the phone. If I hiring him, I will pay $150, not try out that day.
No. Nobody does that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that, sir. Mr. Siwa.
He told me on the phone, I say, okay, I will let him put his license on the machine. And he said, no, let me try out a couple cars, use my license that day. So I said, okay, you can come in to try a couple cars, use my license. I inspect him. After he do 2 or 3 cars, I say, okay, Eric, you can go to the bar to put your name on the machine. But I check.
Just a second. Just a second, Mr. Siwa. Now you say after he did 2 or 3 cars. Before you told me he did 2 cars. You just said it was 2 or 3. After he did 2 or 3, you said, now go put your card in the machine. Mr. Siwa, what you don't understand is there are certain things that are common sense and there are certain things that are not. And I think that common sense trumps not common sense most of the time. So what I'm telling you is that he said he was a certified inspector. He is a certified inspector. He may not have had a high test score, the kind that your service center wanted, but you didn't discuss that with him on the phone. There's no question that you didn't discuss that with him on the phone, and you had the opportunity.
Excuse me.
You had the opportunity before you told him to come in to inspect cars for which you got paid. You had an opportunity to check his certification.
May I say something?
Sure.
I talked with him in the phone. He said his star score 55. Okay. It was showing the paper 55, the score.
Did he ask you what your score was?
Yes, at the time it was 0.5.
In January, it was 55. July, it was 30. When had you taken the test?
It's not exactly a test. It's the state actually looking over the work that you've done to make sure you're doing everything right. And at that point, they had thought it was a good idea to lower my score to a 0.3 sometime at the end of July.
So he had that information. Were you notified of that information?
No, I wasn't notified until he let me know.
Okay. Now you're fighting inside the garage. Then what happened?
He began getting frustrated, making threats.
Just a second. Well, you were shouting at him. He was shouting at you.
Correct.
And you were frustrated too because at this point he offered you, according to him, gas money.
Yes.
Go ahead.
We continued arguing. He began making threats.
Like what?
One threat was leave the shop or I'll make you leave, or leave the shop or I'll call the police.
Okay, well, he's allowed to do that. He's allowed to call the police. Next.
Then I began to tell him I wasn't going to leave because I felt that I was deserving of the money that I had.
So you're yelling at each other.
Correct.
I'm not leaving. Well, at that point, I have to tell you, Mr. Tavares, you're trespassing because he's told you to leave his premises and you didn't. So at that point, you were trespassing on his property. Just letting you know that.
Yes.
Go ahead.
He begins to go to the supply closet and picks up hedge clippers.
In the mechanic shop.
Yes. I told myself and out loud that this wasn't worth it, that I was just going to report this to the Bureau of Automotive Repair, as well as the California State Labor Commissioner's office.
Just a second. You're yelling at him. I'm going to report this to the Department of Labor. That doesn't make sense to me. He went for a hedge clipper, and you said to him, because you're yelling at this point. This is not a conversation like we're having. This is an angry conversation that resulted in him picking up a weapon. So you're not going into a long I'm going to report this to the California Association of Poodle Breeders. This doesn't happen. I want to know what you said, not what you think you should have said. What you said to him.
That's exactly what I said. As I was walking away, I told him that it wasn't worth it, that I didn't want to get into a police situation, that I was just going to report you to the California State Labor Commission, because the only reason I was still sticking around was for my fair amount of pay.
And that's what you said to him?
Yes.
Or as you were going away?
As I was walking away, yeah.
Keep going.
As I walked away, I was still frustrated, so I was still bad-mouthing him. He began following me outside when I was walking towards my car with the hedge clippers.
Okay. You've left the shop.
Yes.
Walking towards your car.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I get in my car. As I was getting in my car, he's still approaching my car with the hedge clippers. As I was getting in, I exit. I tell him.
You were getting into your car, and then you got out of your car?
Yes.
You're now both standing outside of your car.
I'm next to it. He's still approaching it.
And?
And I tell him, if you're going to do something, do it now, because I've got my phone out ready to record. And then he proceeds to walk away.
And then?
And then I attempt to take off with my car. I move a couple of inches. I move around to the side of the building to try to exit. He then grabs the hedge clippers overhead and tosses them and hits my windshield.
Was the car traveling in his direction?
No.
When he hit the windshield, he hit your front windshield.
Correct.
So it had to be traveling in his direction, not away from him. He didn't hit your back windshield, he hit your front windshield.
I was going around him and he was coming.
Well, you were trying to go around him.
Yes, I was tempted.
That's what you tell me, that you were trying to go around him, but you were going towards him.
Not with intention.
I didn't say with intention. I asked whether you were driving away from him so he was behind you or driving towards him.
He was basically diagonal to the car as I was going around him.
And he threw these clippers at your windshield and shattered your windshield.
Yes.
So that's what you're suing for. You're suing for the day's pay that you didn't get.
Yes.
And the cost of the windshield. You had it fixed, and there was insurance covered part of it, but part of it was not covered.
Yes, I have pictures here.
Okay. All right, Mr. Siwa, it's your turn. We're going to start off at the point when you told him to go home.
Yes, after I check his score too low, I cannot put him on the machine. So I take $50, say, Eric, I give you for the gas. I cannot put him in the machine. Then he said, no, I want $150 for full price, full day. And tomorrow and Saturday too. I say, I can because you're not working. Then I sit down on a chair, both chairs, we sit down on a chair.
May I see what that looks like, Kevin, please?
I didn't know he gonna grab the money from my hand and punch me a couple times.
Eric Tavares has accused Smog Station Manager Peter Siwa of refusing to pay his wages, assaulting him, and vandalizing his car. Peter claims he was the one assaulted by Eric.
You sat down on one of these chairs?
Yeah.
Do you remember these chairs, sir? No. So you sat down in the garage?
Yes.
And?
He grabbed the money from my hand and punched me.
So you're sitting in these two chairs?
Yes.
Okay. So you're sitting in the two chairs, and he
grabbed the money from my hand.
the $50.
Yes, and punched me on the face a couple times, and say, "Oh, I got damaged the computer." Then I said, well, "Stop! I have the phone on my hand." I said, "I got to call the police." And he grabbed my phone, threw to the front of the parking lot.
He threw the phone to where?
To the front parking lot.
To the parking lot.
Yeah. Then he pushed me to the ground, punched me and kicked me. Then he go to his car, drive the car, want to leave. So I grabbed the tree cutter, trimmer, go to outside, stop him.
Why did you go outside to try to stop him?
Because he want to leave, I said, wait for the police coming.
You had all of his information. He was leaving. He, according to you, had punched you twice,
Yes.
threw you down, kicked you, and grabbed the money out of your hand.
Yes.
And at this point, he was leaving.
Yes. He drive the car, he want to leave.
Well, why would you run after him to
Then,
make him
then
stay?
he drive the car, want
Just
to
a
leave.
second. I don't understand why you would run after him to make him stay. Why would you do that if he had just assaulted you? You call the police
Yes.
and you say, this is who it is. I have his name. I have his address. He just assaulted me. I mean, you're much older than he is, and he's clearly excited. He even says he was excited and you were yelling at each other. Doesn't make sense to me that you would run out after him after he assaulted you. Mr. Siwa, do you have a police report?
The police report, I can get the print out, just only the file number.
Do you have a police report?
I have a file number.
Is it?
It was given to me by the officer that took my report because I was the only one that
Just to
called the
show-
police.
Can I see it, please?
This one, yeah.
Did you call the police on July 26th? That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay. So you called the police 3 days later. That's a yes or a no?
I called the same day, but was a lot busy. Then I go to the police station at that day. On
That's
Friday.
not the next day. This is 3 days later. It says 7/26/2021.
I went to the police station and so busy. I wait 3 hours and I say I will come back to make a report next day.
But you didn't go back the next day.
No, I went over there
You
Monday.
went 3 days later.
Yeah, Monday, yes.
Did you make a report?
I make a report, yes.
You should have the report.
But I went over there 3 times, but the police said, not ready, so I cannot do anything.
Do you have any photographs of your injuries? He punched you, according to you, at least 3 times in your face.
No.
Do you have any photographs of injuries?
No, I don't have that.
Were you injured?
I have only in my knees.
No, face. You say he punched you 3 times, twice, or maybe 3 times in the
Don't have
face.
any scar, yes.
So you had no injuries, no visible injury.
Yes.
Did you go to a doctor?
No.
Did you throw the hedge clippers at Mr. Tavares's car?
Yes.
Did you have any reason to follow him out to his car?
No, I'm 80 years old. He should not do that to me.
He should absolutely not have put his hands on you. But to me, if somebody hit me or my husband or one of my children or one of my grandchildren, I would have wanted to see them arrested. My sense is if somebody punches you 2 or 3 times in the face, there is some sort of a redness or a black and blue that you get on your face. You had nothing.
But he's not punch hard, you know.
You mean he punched you softly?
And I fall down, my knee hurt.
Do you have a photograph of your knee? If your knee hurt, then it had a bruise on it the next day. Okay. So far you owe him $150 days pay. Did you take $50 from him?
No.
And what is your deductible to fix your car windshield?
$500 according to my insurance right here.
Well, how much did it cost you to fix your windshield? You fixed your windshield, right?
Yes. It costed me
Cost you.
$1,554.
Let me see what he's got from his insurance company, please. Your insurance company says that your claim for damages was $399.99.
Correct.
Is that what you submitted to the insurance company?
Yes, that was their estimate. Yes.
Well, then why would you say that it cost you $1,554 to fix it?
When I went to a body shop, they had told me that there was glass inside the dashboard and that it was going to take more labor than just that.
And they should have told your insurance company that, sir.
I did as well, but they told me that they were willing to cover the charges.
Well, I don't care what they told you. I'm going by this. You understand?
Yes.
Perfect. $399. I'm going to make it an even 4. It makes my life better. 0, 5, $550. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you. We're finished.
Court is adjourned.
I've basically held myself with the utmost respect my whole life. My mother has raised me with the best manners possible.
He lied.
They said that if I was to press charges against him, that they were going to take his side of the story, but I guess he never made the report.
The police will say I want to arrest him, but I say no. I will give him a chance because he's too young.
But it is what it is at the end of the day.
I think that case was a great example of making sure you have all your ducks in a row before you come to a legal setting asking for help. I felt bad for that defendant that he claims he was assaulted, yet had no photos, no evidence, no police report.
And that's true. You know how agitated we would be if somebody in our family was physically touched by somebody else. What I really think happened in this case was he had a slow day. Mm-hmm. And he had hired this guy. He says, come on in, I'll give you $150 or $120 for the day. And he said he only had a couple of cars. And if he only had a couple of cars, he figured he made $100 if he had 2 cars. So we'll give him $50 for gas money and say goodbye. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that. Unfortunate, and you're absolutely right. Come to court, you have to have your evidence. Ducks in a row.
Buyer Cesar Galvez for the cost of shipping containers.
Court come to order.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 1065, Gutierrez versus Galvez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am so confused about this case, and that's not easy. You buy storage containers?
I do storage auctions. So sometimes containers come up with merchandise in them, so then I can
Okay, let's go back. You say that as if I really understand it.
Apologies.
I really don't totally understand it. I've seen storage wars on television once or twice.
Correct. So
where you go and you bid on something and you don't know what's inside.
Correct.
And then you open it up like a Cracker Jack box.
Correct.
You know what Cracker Jacks are?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, you're older than you look.
Thank you.
Do they still have Cracker Jacks?
I think they do.
Yes, they do. I don't know. Yeah. They do. Do they still have little prizes inside?
Stickers.
Stickers. Used to have little toys and stuff inside. Anyway, so Storage Wars is like a grown-up version of a Cracker Jack box. You open it up and you pay some money. Now, you buy those at auction.
Correct.
When you buy them at auction, do you already know what's inside?
No.
So you go to a big place where people haven't paid their bills, so they...
Correct. Or sometimes it's homes of family members that pass away and the family doesn't want anything, so they auction the stuff off.
But have they gone inside to look first?
The family has, but we haven't.
So the family knows whether you're buying junk or whether you're buying dead bodies or whether there's something valuable in there.
Correct. But sometimes the families don't take the time to go in there. They just want to sell, they want to sell the land.
They want to sell the land, and these storage containers are on the land?
Correct.
How do you know the plaintiff?
I've met her a while back. I needed somebody to move a container for me that I had sold to somebody.
To move a container?
That I had sold to somebody. That the person that purchased a container for me needed a transport company to move the container. And that's how I met her.
You have a transport company?
I do. I move shipping containers, and that's how I met him.
What's the name of your company?
D&J's Transport.
What kind of trucks do you have?
60-foot long dually.
And who drives it for you?
I do.
Personally?
Personally, and I work together as a team with my broker.
How many workers do you have?
Not in my responsibility, just me.
Do you hire people to help you?
Yes.
You bought some containers and an RV or 2 RVs.
Correct, but the auction that I was at, there was people that bought the containers. I didn't buy the containers. They bought the containers. And they were taking the stuff that was inside the containers and they wanted to sell the containers because it was their responsibility to get rid of them. And since I know Gladys...
Okay, so you didn't buy the containers. No. Mr. A bought the containers. Mr. A didn't want the containers, just what was inside the containers.
Correct.
So Mr. A was supposed to get all the stuff out of the containers.
He was actually supposed to take the container with him too. But he asked me if I knew someone that wanted to buy them, since he knows that I communicate with a lot of people.
On whose land were these containers?
The person passed away from that property, and the niece of that man hired American auctioneers to do the auction of everything that was on the property so that they can clear the property. That's how the containers went up for sale. So buyers come and they all bid each other up, and whoever gets the highest bid takes it.
So you didn't buy anything?
No, I did buy something.
What did you buy?
I bought everything that was outside the containers. So pretty much you had 6 containers on the property. You had motorhomes. You had the contents inside the home. I bought everything that was outside in the yard. There was a air compressor. There was a gold digging machine. There was carburetors, generators, just a bunch of things just all over the place.
So you bought all of this.
For one price.
How much did you spend for all of that stuff?
$500.
And you bought it as one lot.
Correct.
Somebody else was there and bought these 6 containers.
One person bought 4 containers, and another person bought 2 containers.
But they weren't interested in the containers. How big? Give me
They
an idea.
couldn't move them. They couldn't move them.
They couldn't move them. Why?
They're just so big, and they don't have the transportation mode or where to put them.
So they wanted to just go through the inside of the containers.
Well, if you wanted the stuff in the container, you had to buy the container.
I understand that, but they wanted to just go through the containers.
Take what they want and leave what they didn't.
And they were going to give you the containers?
No, they were I don't know what they were going to do with them, but I know that Gladys likes
No.
containers.
Listen, you're in this business
Correct.
to make money.
Correct.
So somehow you were going to make money. The nieces got the money from the 2 people that bought the containers.
The nieces,
The nieces got money from the 2 people that bought the containers. What I'm getting from you is that the 2 people who bought the containers just wanted the contents of the containers. They said, you know anybody who wants the containers? You say, I know this lady because she buys containers, and I know she can move them because she has the equipment to move them. What was your vigorish? What was your vig? What was your payment for making this marriage between the moving company and Mr. A and B? Am I getting that right? Is there something that I'm...
I think it sounds right to me.
Sounds right.
Does it sound like what he said? Is my question. Okay. Am I getting that right?
yeah, you got it. You're right on point.
Okay. So I want to know how much money.
Did I make off the deal?
Yes, because you charged her
Correct.
$6,400.
Yes.
Which she sent you for 6 containers and 2 motorhomes or
Correct.
RVs.
Correct.
Of the $6,400, how much can you prove to me that you gave to Mr. A and B, who bought the 4 containers and the 2 containers? So I'm trying to figure out.
Well, I can only...
Or did you get everything?
No.
No.
Okay.
Just take a breath. Take a breath. The truth will always be the easiest.
Correct.
Because if these guys wanted the contents, didn't want the containers, part of the deal was they had to get them off the property.
Correct.
Right? And they were going to have to pay somebody to move them off the property, because that was the deal.
Well, they were all going to try to sell them too at the same time. We had 2 weeks to get them off the property.
Not we. You had 2 weeks to get your
Well,
junk
my
off
stuff
the
out
property.
of the property. They had 2 weeks to get their stuff off the property. So
Okay. And you knew you had 2 weeks to get all your
Correct.
compressors and weed whackers and whatever
Correct.
else it was off the property.
correct.
Did you get your property off?
No, ma'am.
Why?
Because when I did the deal with the containers for her, the niece of the owner of the property was really on top of us to get those containers out, to get the containers out, because it was going to cost her money if they left the containers behind. Part of the deal with the auction company when you bought the stuff was that you were going to get those containers out or you get banned from the auction company. So it was pressure on everybody to have to move all their stuff.
No, just a second. I'm not interested in the other guys with the 6 containers and the 2 RVs. I'm interested in the stuff that you paid $500 for.
I got a lot of my stuff off.
You were responsible to get that stuff off the property.
Correct.
And you got a lot of it off.
Correct.
I assume you took what was most important to you first.
I tried, but I couldn't get the most important thing. I couldn't get it out of there because of the same thing that I had to find someone who's going to help me transport it because
Well,
it was
that's
big.
nobody's fault but your own.
Correct. That is my fault.
That is your fault.
But that
Just
was
a second.
I had,
That's your fault.
Gladys Gutierrez claims storage buyer Cesar Galvez is responsible for refunding the cost of shipping containers. Cesar is countersuing, claiming he lost valuable items after Gladys refused to pick up her containers.
You have a counterclaim for $10,000 because you say that because she didn't get the containers off, if I'm reading this right, because she didn't get her containers off the property in time, you couldn't get your $500 worth of junk off the property, and therefore you're suing her for $10,000.
well, I just said I couldn't get my $500 worth of junk off of there. I'm
So,
saying that I
do you
was able to
understand-
remove
do you understand-
my stuff that was being blocked by her container.
No, your stuff, according to you, I am right, he said his stuff was all the stuff outside the containers.
Outside.
Do you understand?
Yeah, you're correct. You're right.
Right. And there was nothing preventing you from going in and taking out the stuff that you wanted.
There is when the containers are in the way of the property.
No.
So, would you like me to let you know how the containers were?
Show me that the containers were in the way of the stuff outside the containers. You have a picture of that?
The closest I can get to.
Because you took out a lot of the stuff, according to you.
I did.
You did. And you only paid $500 for all of it.
That's the
Just a
beside the
second.
point.
It is the point. You're in a
It's
court.
besides the
What do you
point.
mean it's not the point? Of
It's not
course
how much
it's
I
the
paid
point.
for it. It's how much value I have of the stuff that I was going to make my money on. It prevented me from making my money.
You're ridiculous, sir. You paid $500 for it.
It doesn't
According to
matter
you,
how
you
much
got
I
off
paid
a
for it.
lot of your stuff, and you're suing her for $10,000. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds to me? Do you know how ridiculous it is?
It does when it's not your money.
Just a second. Do you know how ridiculous it is?
It can sound different
Just
to everybody.
what you're saying to me, I mean, you may be able to get over on your wife, your mother, somebody else with that nonsense, but you're not getting over on me. You paid $500 for a whole load of junk. According to you, you went and you got most of it out of there.
never said most. I said I got a lot of it.
And you're suing her for $10,000 because she didn't get the containers off. You couldn't get your property off. And all I said to you is, I want to see a picture
Well, I don't
of
have
her
a picture of that.
containers blocking anything that you bought.
The closest you got to this the everything's behind these containers. So that's the closest I can get to you.
Could I have that, please? What? This is a junkyard.
To your eyes.
But just a second. All right, so I've just disposed of your counterclaim. That's done. Now we're going to get to your claim, because he still hasn't answered my question. He's done a lot of talking, but he hasn't answered my question. What was your vigorish from Misters A and B who bought the containers for you putting together a marriage to get the containers off the property?
I made $200 per container.
Do you have any proof of that?
I have a witness here who purchased 2 containers himself.
Just a second. Your last name, please.
Hernandez?
You're not in business together, is that right?
No.
What is your business?
Well, I bought his stores too, but separately than him.
What do you do with them?
I sell the stuff at the swap meet.
So you sell the stuff that's inside,
Yes.
not the containers themselves. Okay. So you pick out what you think is valuable that you can sell.
Correct.
And where do you keep it?
I keep it in the storage. I rent the storage.
And you've renting that storage unit for a long time?
Actually, not anymore. I just get rid of it.
You got rid of it?
Yes.
Take your hands out of your pockets. I think better with your hands out of your pockets.
Okay.
You think this is going to be easy?
I don't think so.
Good. So you got rid of that private storage. Why?
Because I don't have much merchandise inside there. I don't need to be paid for the storage no more.
So you're not selling it
I'm
swamp?
still selling.
You're still selling stuff?
Yes.
Well, where do you keep the stuff that you
In
sell?
my truck.
What kind of a truck do you have?
I have a 14-foot of 4.
Okay, so you have a big truck
Like a
where you
U-Haul,
keep your
yes.
merchandise.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
What were you doing buying 2 of these huge storage containers? Think. I want you to think about what you just testified, that you keep all your merchandise in your truck. and you sell the inside that's in the inside of these containers.
Correct.
That you go at swap meets, flea markets.
Yes,
These are very big storage containers.
I understand.
So you didn't want the container.
No, I don't.
Right. How much did you pay for the 2 containers?
I pay $250 for each one.
And was there a lot of stuff in each one?
Yes,
Good stuff?
a lot of junk.
A lot of junk? Anything valuable?
Not really.
So what did you do with all the stuff?
Some of the stuff I put in my truck and take it to the Swami. Like I went like twice.
Okay. And what'd you do with the stuff if there was a lot of junk that you didn't want? You wouldn't put that in your truck.
Left them in there,
You left it in the
container. Yes,
container.
that's correct.
You left them in the 2 containers.
Yes,
Now you paid $250 for each container.
that's correct.
How much did you pay him?
Pay who? I don't pay anything.
How much did he give you?
He gave me $500 for both.
Him. How did he make money from your 2 containers?
He sold it to her.
So you sold him the containers for $250 apiece?
Yes,
Sit down. How much did you make on the 2 containers?
I made $200 on each container when I sold them.
You sold her 6 containers.
Correct. That she never picked up or
Just
never
a
went to
second.
go see.
Stop! You sold her 6 containers. In addition to the 6 containers, there were 2 RVs.
Correct.
Were they also on the property?
Correct.
Were those things that you had bought or somebody else bought?
Those were things
The
that
2 RVs.
they belong to the owner, to the niece, because nobody purchased them. So she asked me,
To get rid of them.
yeah, to if I can sell them for her. Not to get rid of them, if I can sell them for her. Not to get rid of them.
Well, you can't tell me what she asked. So far, you haven't paid a thing for them, and you didn't pay any money to her.
What do you mean I didn't pay any money to her?
Show me proof that you sent the owner of the property any money.
A lot of this is done in cash. That's the thing. All the auctions are cash.
Did you pay him in check or cash?
I did it transfer, and I have bank account proof.
Okay, so I assume you did the same.
No, and that's the thing. You're assuming.
You're in business.
Correct, but you're assuming how I do my business.
You're in business.
You're assuming how I do my business.
She gave you $6,400. You don't dispute that.
For merchandise she didn't pick up.
Just a second. You don't dispute that.
I'm not. It's the truth. But it's not
And
my responsibility to pick it up for her.
I'm trying to figure out how you made money. You neither bought the contents of the containers nor bought the containers themselves. Yet you sold the containers to her and you sold the 2 RVs to her that were on the property for $6,400.
With all due respect, we're not here to find out if I bought something or didn't. We're here to let you know that she didn't show up to pick up what she paid for.
No,
It is not my
we're here to
responsibility to
find
pick it up for
out,
her.
sir, whatever I want to find out.
So be it.
That's what we're here to find out.
Again, it's your courtroom.
That's the first thing you got right today.
Correct.
Accused storage buyer Cesar Galvez of refusing to refund her money after she could not retrieve the shipping containers she purchased.
According to you, you paid him $6,400 for something that you hadn't personally seen. Is that right?
Yes,
When did you make this contract with him?
March 4th.
Do you have any proof of that contract? I'd like to see it.
When I make the deposit, to deposit, and I...
No, just a second.
Okay.
Just 1 second. No. Just a second. I want to see a contract.
Oh, no, we
Just-
didn't sign any contract because I trust him.
Who is Perea Trucking?
He called me to say that containers are ready to pick up. So I sent 2 drivers because I was in Vegas. I have pictures when they came. They sent me those pictures. The container is still with a lot of stuff inside. And the area, it wasn't clear. It was a lot of things.
May I see it,
he
please?
couldn't even walk. Oh, the pictures. All the pictures are there. I got it from the drivers.
These are the pictures of the 2 RVs.
Yes, but it wasn't clean.
It wasn't cleared out.
Yes.
Oh, that's what he said.
That's why they couldn't. They charged me for the trip, but it was just a empty run.
Did you have a discussion with him when you made this deal
Yes,
with him?
I called him right away.
No.
Oh.
When you made the deal with him,
Okay.
is this the first time you ever made a deal with him?
No, this is my second purchase. He sold me 2 storage container before.
Why would you send him money without seeing these? I'm looking at
He sent me a video. I had the video.
He sent you a video
Yes.
before you sent him the money.
Before sending the money, yes.
I'd like to see the video.
Okay.
This mesh is the one that we'll have to remove. This will have to throw away. So we have to throw away this mesh here so that your trailer comes in through here. That there we have to remove so that it's better to see. Otherwise, I don't know. But we have, excuse me guys, all this will be moved so that you can come in. This will be the first container that you'll take.
Just a second. When you saw this, it looked like a whole bunch of junk. Did you send her that video?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, Miss Gutierrez, that looks like a whole bunch of junk. It looks like a whole bunch of junk. I wouldn't spend $6,000 on that. A reasonable person would not invest $6,000 in a bunch of junk.
I didn't care about the stuff. I just care about the boxes because for me, the way it seems, it's worth the money that I paid, but empty.
He acknowledges that he sent this video before you made the transaction. What I saw is a whole bunch of junk.
Yeah, and on the video, I just was watching the shipping container.
Okay, I don't care what you were watching, madam. It wasn't a smart business deal.
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
Now, he was the man who bought 2 containers.
Correct.
She gave you $6,400. The RVs are worthless. Let's say she gave you $6,000 for the 4 containers.
6 containers.
6 containers. He says he got his money out, $500. What's the name of the person to whom you say you gave money for the other 4 containers?
I don't have that name with me.
I want to know who you gave the money to.
With the guy that bought it, but I don't know him personally. He bought him that day. I met him that day when the auction.
Well, but you didn't have the money then, sir, because you didn't have the money until she sent you the money.
Correct.
You had, well, she didn't send you the money on the date of the auction, which was February 23rd.
Yeah, that's when everything was sold, but not to her.
I understand that.
Correct.
So I want to know what you did with the $6,000, who you gave it to. I already know about him. You got $500, right?
Yes.
From whom? From him. So he gave you $500 for 2 containers that you left a whole bunch of stuff in.
Yes.
Right. So now you have 4 containers left.
Correct.
And you said you made $200 per container.
That's correct.
That's what you said.
Correct.
So I'm taking off his $500. That leaves $5,500. So I'm going to take off from the $5,500, $800. Now you're going to tell me who you gave that money to.
Again, I can't tell you who it is
Just a
because I just
second.
met him that
How
day.
much? You're going to tell me how much money? How much money? I mean, they bought them. Right now, there's about $4,000 floating around, and I don't know who has it. So far, you didn't spend any money except for the $500 for everything around. That still leaves us $5,500 for the 4 containers.
Okay, so I charged $200 per container. So I would put $800 in my pocket from those containers. So the balance of that would go to the man that I met at the auction.
You didn't give it to him on the day of the
No,
auction.
I didn't.
No, because you
I
didn't
did it
have
when she sent me the money.
When she sent you the transfer.
That's when I did the
Which
deal.
was on, when she sent you the transfer, which was on March 4th, and she sent it through a bank account. So you got it into a PayPal or a Venmo or whatever they call it, you know, a hocus pocus, which I don't understand.
And the $2,200, I work in his business and give it to him in person, cash. But I take it from my bank account.
Really?
Yeah, I took it from.
Just a second. Explain to me why you would go to give him $2,200 on March 10th.
Because he called me and said, hey, you need to pay for the RVs before you get them.
You know something? I'm not believing you. You want to know why? Because this delivery receipt is dated March 10th, which is the same day that you sent your guys there to pick up the stuff. Well, why in the world would you pay him $2,200 in cash?
After, when I give him the money, when they call me and say, not even the RVs are worth it, I call him again and I say, hey, I need my money that I just give you right now. And he was like, oh, come and get it.
She made a bad deal. She made a bad deal. She's a businesswoman. She should have known better. You made a deal to buy 6 containers. There's nothing in here that says that the 6 containers have to be empty and ready to go. You made a bad deal. But it seems to me, as a smart business person, you don't buy things that look like junk and spend $6,400 on it. You don't look like that kind of lady to me. I'm dismissing your case. You counterclaim I dealt with a long time ago. It's full of baloney. We're done here.
Court is adjourned.
What? I feel like I did a very, very bad purchase.
I sold her containers. She didn't pick them up.
He promised me that he's gonna clean everything and empty the containers, and the containers are still with a lot of stuff inside.
You know, sometimes people show up to a work site, they see the work, and it's too much, they don't want to do it.
Actually, that case was almost as confusing to me when I finished it as when I began. The only thing that was a takeaway for me was that the defendant had lots of side hustles and paid $500 for a whole lot of stuff that looked like junk. For that, he had a counterclaim for $10,000 because one man's trash is another man's treasure, I guess. So that was clearly a hustle. And I actually had real problems, Sarah, believing that a smart businesswoman like this is would separate herself from $6,000 based on a video of trash. In any event, she didn't have a contract in hand that said he will deliver the stuff clean. She didn't pick it up. She wants her money back. That's
Too hard to follow. Too hard to follow the cash.
Too hard to.
Danielle Nance is suing her former friend, Daryl Bowens, for the cost or the return of a miniature dachshund.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please. Kevin?
Hello, Judge. Case 1087, Nance versus Bowens.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Nance, what do you do for a living?
I work for Amazon, and I'm also a CNA part-time.
What do you do for Amazon?
I am a sortation associate. So the packages come in on trailers, and they leave on the delivery trucks that you see in your neighborhood. So we sort them in between. It's very physical.
I have to tell you, that is some company. They certainly do know how to deliver packages, and I get about 15 of them a day between my husband, my grandchildren. Not me, I don't know. If I want something, I say to my husband, this is what I want. Can you order it for me? Because I don't understand putting it in a cart and checking off how many.
Oh, okay. You're not that person?
I'm not that person.
Okay.
But in your spare time, Miss Nance, what you decided to do is to make some extra money breeding dogs.
Right.
This kind of dog.
Right.
And you knew Mr. Bowens from where?
He and I used to work at the same company back in 2018.
And at the time that you met, did you already have this breed of dog?
No, ma'am.
And did you have this breed of dog?
I did.
One.
I had 1 female, 1 male in 2018.
So you decided to sort of go into business together.
Right.
And this kind of dog is called a piebald dachshund?
Yes, an extreme piebald black and tan mini dachshund.
When I read over the complaint and the answer in this case, I must tell you that I had never heard of that. And so I looked it up on the internet, Google. And it showed this color, and I had seen this color before, not usually. Dachshunds are usually all brown or all one color. Mm-hmm. And this is a relatively small one. How many dogs do you currently have, Mr. Bowens?
2.
You have this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Whose name is Pockets?
Yes, ma'am.
You're his wife?
No.
Who are
His
you?
colleague and friend.
But the dog seems very comfortable with you.
He's comfortable with everyone.
Anyway, you decided to go into business together. And this case is about breeding rights and ownership of the dog and where the dog is going to live.
Right.
And how we're going to sort out this mess because you're no longer friends.
Because of this issue.
You're no longer friends, and Pockets has to have a stable home.
He does.
On what date did you purchase Pockets?
October 13th, 2020.
Who did you purchase the dog from?
I bought him from Spotted Ox Dachshunds in Utah. He was a breeder dog for her.
How expensive was the dog?
$3,100. $2,500 for the dog and okay.
How much was the dog?
$3,100.
No.
Oh, how much did I spend with, okay, $2,500.
The dog was $2,500.
Right.
And did you discuss with Mr. Bowens splitting the cost of the dog? Let's be very careful about this, Ms. Nance. did you discuss with Mr. Bowens splitting the cost of the dog?
We did.
Was that prior to picking the dog up on the 13th of October?
We had talked about it, but he didn't want to pay for shipping, so I bought the dog by myself.
Just a second. You had talked with him about splitting the cost of the dog.
Right.
And when you talked to him about splitting the cost of the dog, did you also discuss either orally or commit to a written instrument what the contractual relationship was between the two of you with regard to the dog?
We did not do that.
So you picked up the dog on 10/13/2020.
He was shipped to me from Utah.
Subsequent to that, you turned over physical custody of Pockets to Mr. Bowens.
In March, when his dog was in heat.
March what?
March 14th
of
2021.
Okay.
About March 14th. It might be the 13th. It was right before my dog had puppies.
Okay. And you turned your dog over to Mr. Bowens on March 13th because your dog was going to have puppies?
That was the agreement. His dog was coming in the heat, and my dog was having puppies.
Your dog was having puppies. So between October and March, you had no contact.
We were in an argument because he didn't want to pay for the shipping of the dog and stormed out of my house. So we were not talking until February.
Okay, then something happened in February.
I called him and buried the hatchet.
Okay, you called him in February and said?
I called him in February and said, I apologize for the part that I played in our arguing, and I hope that we can be friends again.
Great. Do you remember that conversation, Mr. Bowens?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Good.
It came from different parts of our friends.
Of mutual friends?
Yes.
Okay.
She was
fine.
sending messages.
So in February.
I'm not sure on the timeline because I think I had Pockets, like when she put the deposit down for Pockets, she hadn't paid for Pockets in October. She had only put deposit down. The later we were.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
It's not true.
Well, then I'm going to stop.
Sorry.
I'm going to stop right there. When the dog was purchased in October, did you pay the full cost of the dog?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you have proof of that?
I do.
I'd like to see it. Well, you usually get a full contract with this.
That's what I got from her. I didn't sign a contract. I just got an invoice for purchasing him.
Was he an AKC registered dog?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you always get some sort of a contract when you buy a dog from a breeder.
She didn't give me a contract. We didn't have a contract. This is what I got from her.
That's unusual. That's actually very unusual. Is it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've owned dogs all my life, and I've had a particular breed that I like very much. And every breeder, well, the 2 or 3 that I've used, has always had a certificate of good health, whether you can use the dog for breeding purposes, whether you have to have the dog neutered at a certain time, what vaccines the dog has had. So I know all of these things. These I take from my own history. That's what happens when you get old. You have a life's history.
Nance claims her former friend, Daryl Bowens, owes her for the cost of a miniature dachshund. Daryl is countersuing, claiming Danielle owes him for his portion of the dog's costs.
So this looks stupid to me from somebody who's breeding. Really?
Okay.
Looks stupid to me from somebody who is buying this dog for the purposes of breeding it. And if this is all you got, then this is probably a game you shouldn't be playing. If you accept the breeding game.
Oh, okay.
It's probably the game that you shouldn't be playing because you don't. This you think is what everybody gets, and I had no intention of breeding my dog, but I know the contract that I signed, I know the papers that I got, and if this is all you got. In any event, at some point you bury the hatchet. Subsequent to that, you think it was before, but it was at least in March.
At least in March.
Okay. How old was Pockets when you got him in October?
He was almost 3.
3 months old?
Almost 3 years old. He was born December 29th, 2017.
And she was clearly selling him then for $2,500, which was an expensive price for an adult dog. So this wasn't a puppy. You were buying this dog for rehoming purposes it's like rehoming, but you were buying the dog for breeding because she had not had the dog neutered.
Right. He was a breeding dog for her, and he was going to be a breeding dog for me. He is embark clear, so he's not got any genetic issues, and that's why I was feeling comfortable enough to pay as much as I did for him. So instead of buying a dog and not knowing if that's PRA or something.
On what date did Mr. Bowens give you $1,250?
It was when the day that his puppies went home.
What date did Mr. Bowens?
It's going to be, the total amount was paid, Your Honor, on
No. Just answer my question.
July the 28th.
July?
The 28th.
Yeah, that was the day that the puppies went home.
That's the day the puppies could go home.
So when you say that's the date that the puppies could go home, you used Pockets to breed with a female that you owned?
I used my dog Pockets to breed with.
I haven't decided whose dog is it.
I understand. Up until you make your decision, I
You
consider
used
myself
Pockets.
Yes, ma'am.
With her permission. Did you tell her that you were going to breed Pockets?
Yes, she knew I was going to breed
No,
Pockets.
not what she knew. That's not my question.
Okay.
Did you tell her that you were going to breed Pockets?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
It is.
So you had a discussion about it. Was that discussion in person or over the phone?
In person. We hang out a lot. We used to.
Okay. So by that time you would sort of sorted things out. Mm-hmm. And you bred Pockets with a female that you owned?
That I purchased from her.
Okay,
Yes.
great. When did you purchase that female from the plaintiff?
Okay.
He didn't buy it from me.
No.
Okay.
I didn't buy the dog.
No, just a second.
Okay.
Don't speak.
Okay.
I'm not looking at you now.
Okay. Let me explain this. We were co-workers at a company, and she was looking for another job, and she has a trouble of keeping jobs and being happy. I understand.
Don't editorialize
I'm
for
not
me.
gonna do it. I'm
This
sorry.
case is going to be long enough as it is.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
What I saw in her was that she was great with dogs. She had a lot of knowledge about dogs. With my previous experience before we started working together, during the process of our friendship, she had a litter of puppies that she made quite a substantial amount of money on. And so while she's looking for this different job, because she doesn't feel like she's doing well on the job that we're on, and I was one of the top agents, I said, look, all my life I've done stuff that I like to do. You love puppies, but you just had a litter of puppies, and what she did with a male puppy was fix her male puppy and gave him away. Then she was getting ready to give away her female puppy after she got her fixed. She got the male puppy that just bred the puppies and gave them away. Then she was going to do the same thing with Daphne.
With Daphne?
Her female puppy.
Female.
Right.
Well, her female dog.
Female dog. I'm sorry. Yeah.
How old is the dog?
I wasn't giving her away. I was going to fix her not have more puppies.
How old was Daphne?
At that time?
Yes. She had just had a litter of puppies.
She was 2.5.
So you were going to have her fixed and rehome her?
No, I was not going to rehome her.
You were going to keep her?
Keep her. I was just
Okay.
wasn't going to have more puppies.
Okay. You subsequently changed your mind?
I did. Daryl talked me into it. Yeah.
And Daphne went to live with him?
No.
No.
She still lives with her.
So Daphne still lives with you. What about Daphne's puppies? Did one of Daphne's puppies go to the defendant?
No, never.
Never. According to you, the female dog that he has, he didn't get from you.
I just helped him find it online.
Well, tell me about that.
Okay, I found her on Puppy Find, and I made an agreement with the person that was selling the puppy.
So you found this puppy on Puppy Find and contacted this person. Was this person selling the dog or giving it away?
Selling.
For how much?
I didn't pay for her, so I think it was $1,200.
And what was that puppy's name eventually?
Pearl.
Did Pearl eventually wind up with Mr. Bowens?
Yes, from the beginning.
Oh, stop.
Sorry.
And that's the female dog, Pearl, that ultimately had a litter of puppies with Pockets.
Yes.
Okay, now, where did Pearl come from? What state?
Texas.
Texas. And tell me how you communicated with Mr. Bowens then that you had located a puppy for $1,200 in Texas.
I think that I imagine it was in person or over the phone. I think it was over the phone. And at the time, I had planned in the beginning I was going to keep her, but then he said that he would like to have her. So that's how that happened.
Okie dokie. Well, Miss Nance, I have to tell you something. I have this thing in the back of my neck. It twitches one way to another. So I can always tell from someone's hesitancy whether or not they're giving me an accurate story. That last part of it was a make up as you go. Mr. Bowens, you want to tell me how
Yes, ma'am.
Pearl got into your custody?
Yes, ma'am.
Danielle Nance has accused her former friend, Daryl Bowens, of refusing to return or pay for the miniature dachshund she purchased. Daryl says Danielle gave him the dog and owes him for the dog's costs.
Okay. Mr. Bowens, you want to tell me how
Yes, ma'am.
Pearl got into your custody?
Yes, ma'am. She came to me.
In person?
Yes,
or on the phone?
in person.
In person.
Most of our transactions.
At your home or at your
one of,
at
I
work?
mean, we hung out, barbecued.
Okay. So she was at your house?
Right. Well, it might have been at her rental house. She had a longtime resident, left it in a mess. I went over there free of charge as a friend to help her paint it. I also offered her to pay for the outside of the paint so she could go ahead and match the colors so she could just sell it instead of just renting it out. During that time, she was concerned by not working that she wouldn't have the money for her mortgage. She asked me, would I purchase Pearl? And I said, sure, I'll purchase Pearl so she could cover her mortgage.
Was Pearl already in her custody?
As I can remember, yes.
But it's possible that she had just negotiated
because
with this woman
this is over
Texas.
a 3-year period with a friend that you're not having to recalculate everything,
Okay.
you know?
But you gave her money
Yes.
for that dog.
Absolutely.
And that
so
dog,
she could cover her mortgage.
And that dog was $1,200?
I think it was $1,000 and then $200 for the transportation. If I'm not, I have to go with her word, which.
Okay. Does that sound right?
I think it sounds right.
Okay. It sounds like a complete story to me that makes sense as opposed to what you told me a moment ago. Okay. So now we have this dog fathered a litter of puppies. Pockets has been in your custody for March, April, May, June, July, August, and so far in September.
Yes, ma'am.
7 months.
Or more.
Or more. And the dog, for the last 7 months, the dog was in your custody, this dog, October, November, December, January, February, and part of March.
Right.
Correct? And the dog has been now, if you get the dog back, in 3 homes.
Total. Mm-hmm.
Yes, as an adult dog. So far, am I correct? So far, the dog has been living with him the last 7 months, and it was rehomed by its original owner when it was 2.5 or 3 to you. So I want you to understand, Miss Nance, if he paid anything to you, you're not getting the dog back. I want you to understand that. There is a certain humanity. So my question to you is, did Mr. Bowens give you any money? We're not talking about for the other dog, the female dog that you got from Texas. I'm talking about subsequent to Pockets going to live with Mr. Bowens. Did he give you any money?
No.
No money?
No money.
Okay. That's a lie, according to you.
How's that?
According to you, that's a lie, because you swore to a complaint, and in your complaint, you say, on June 2nd, 2021, Garrow gave me $1,250.
Subsequent means before, right?
No,
subsequent to
I
him
said
moving
subsequent to Pockets
living with
going
him.
to live with him, which was at least in March, according to you. Pay attention. Which was at least in March, according to you. Subsequent to that, my question was simple, and I said it 3 times, and you're an intelligent woman. So, subsequent to that, I said, did he give you any money? And you said no. You want to read that back to me? Subsequent.
Which means before, right? I mean, I'm not stupid, but...
If you're not stupid, don't play stupid. If you're not stupid, don't play stupid when it's convenient. There are 2 words. Most people know. Previous is before. Subsequent is after.
Okay, I had it backwards.
Well, that's too bad. I don't believe it.
I really should.
I don't believe it. I was very clear. I said it 3 times or twice.
Sorry, I didn't know what subsequent meant.
I'm talking about subsequent to Pockets going to live with Mr. Bowens. Did he give you any money? And she said no.
Correct. And that's not true.
Yeah, he gave me $1,250 after.
Subsequent to Pockets going to live with Mr. Bowens, he gave you half.
Uzuri Shubin is suing Maribel Herrera for car damages after her 17-year-old daughter's friend crashed into Uzuri's vehicle.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case number 1140, Shubin versus Herrera.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Shubin, I'm going to start with you very briefly.
Okay.
Because my reading of the case, as far as I'm concerned, you know very little about what happened in this case, except that you parked your car on the street and went into your house. Don't tell you how? Yes.
Yeah.
Because she can't take down. You don't know what happened with your car, except that it was destroyed while parked.
Exactly.
Right. And tell me when this happened.
So it happened tentatively at 11:45 p.m. on August 29th.
Of this year?
Yes.
Were you sleeping?
I was sleeping. I heard a loud crash, and it was over in the direction in which I had parked my car. So I ran outside, pantsless, no shoes, went over without my phone too, and saw that my car had been decimated. I actually have photos if you'd like to see those.
I would.
Okay. Okay. So when I went over there, okay. I also have a video of the car crash as well.
You do?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Here. You can just press play.
What year, model, make of this car was it?
So my car is a Jeep Liberty 06 Limited. I also have a photo of what it looked like prior to this incident.
When did you purchase the car, Ms. Shubin?
I purchased it around December of 2018.
Do you recall the purchase price of the car?
So I purchased it for $5,360, and I have a photo of what it looked like prior
Can we
to
have
it
see it,
being run
please?
into.
Also have video.
I'm only the third owner.
God, it looks lovely.
Yeah.
Can I see the video? Thank you.
It was immaculate.
Let me see your head.
So my neighbor recorded it.
Oh no, you bleed bad, boo. You bleed bad. Oh. Wow. High bottles. She's bleeding a lot. Sit down, mama. Sit down, sit down, sit down. Let me see your face. Yeah. You too. Man, you guys. I don't care, I don't care. Okay, so I'm finna call. I'm finna cut this off. You guys, look. I'm finna call the ambulance, okay?
Okay, and the car was totaled?
Yes, yes. That was the determination of the auto body shop.
Now, Ms. Herrera, you weren't there.
I was not.
On the evening of August 29th, but you own the car, that you are the titled owner of the car that hit her car. That would be a yes.
I actually am not.
Who is?
The car was given to my daughter as a gift for her to move around because she just had a baby.
Ms. Herrera?
Yes.
Where's the title to the car?
I have it here.
I'd like to see it.
Your Honor, I do have...
Shh, don't speak. Who is this person? Who owns the car?
My daughter's in-laws purchased the vehicle from that person.
Just a second. These people are the... Somebody bought your daughter a present. Let me understand this. Somebody bought your daughter, who's how old?
She is 17 now.
Somebody bought your daughter a present who was 17. What month and year did they buy her the present?
I believe it was August...
What date?
I can't recall right now, but I believe it was August, the beginning of August of 2021.
Why didn't they transfer title?
I did do that online.
Oh, well, then let me see. Let me see the paperwork of you doing it online. Just a second. Let me see the paperwork of you doing it online.
I have paperwork that says that she is the insured on the vehicle.
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Correct. Yeah.
That is the DMV.
I'd like to see the paperwork she did online, and I'd like to see that. So what, you're telling me these people, you did in fact change the title?
Yes.
and you changed the title and insured the car in whose name?
My name.
That's what I asked you.
But I was trying to explain, Your Honor, that when I did the paperwork online, when I switched over the title to my name, everything went through. I have the emails there of everything that I did online, the receipts and everything. But at the end of the day, they did not put it under my name because I still owed a fee, which I couldn't do at the time.
I don't care. So the car was yours and you had insurance on it and you filled out the paperwork and you swore in the paperwork that the car was yours and it was being gifted to you because it couldn't be gifted to a minor.
Right.
Right. Okay, now I don't have to see anything. Return that to everybody.
Also, I have the paper that...
No, didn't ask you anything. So far, we understand each other. You're her daughter? Yes. Your father's family gave you this car?
No, my fiance's grandparents.
Now I'm leaving you, Miss Shubin, for a moment.
Okay.
And I'm going to try, the two of you stand up. Because it's true that your mother wasn't there on the night of August 29th when you had the car.
Correct.
Right. And you're 17.
Yes.
And you have a child.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old is that child?
He is now 5 months. He will be 6 months this month.
He's 5 months old. And you live with your mother?
No, Your Honor.
Who do you live with?
I live on my own, Your Honor.
Where does the father of this child live?
He's incarcerated at the moment, Your Honor.
So he lives in a state facility?
Yes.
For what?
Honestly, I don't really have too much information on it.
When did he go to a state facility?
From what I've known, he was arrested on September 29th.
Prior to September 29th, when he went to jail, who was he living with?
He was living on his own, Your Honor.
Did he have a new girlfriend?
No.
So this is what I gather from what your mother wrote in the answer to why she's not responsible for the damage to Miss Shubin's car. And she had to have gotten this story from somebody, and I assume she got it from you and your friend whose name is Jasmine. Sometime on August 29th, your son was visiting with his father. This is what the story your mother tells me is. Is that true? No. That's either a yes or a no.
No.
Okay. Who told your mother that story?
I think she misunderstood.
No. Who told your mother that story? Because she swore to it here. She says, and it all sounded odd to me, that her son was with his father for the night. She had to get that from you. So that was a lie. Yes or no?
Yes.
She got a call that there was a domestic dispute at her father's house. So that was a lie.
Yes.
So Violet, that would be you,
yes,
needed to get there quickly. So all that you now understand, Miss Herrera, is a lie.
That was
just a second. That's what your daughter says she told you, and that's what you wrote in the answer, in your sworn answer. I'm going to read what you wrote in your sworn answer.
Okay.
You say, on August 29th, Violet was hanging out with her friends. Her son was with his father for the night. She got a call that there was a domestic dispute at her father's house. So Violet needed to get there quickly. She drove over to her son's father's house and brought her friend Jasmine with her. That's what you wrote. I mean, I'm not psychotic. I didn't make up the story. I didn't pull it out of the air. I didn't pull it out of my shoe.
Uzuri Shubin is suing Maribel Herrera for car damages after her 17-year-old daughter's friend crashed into Uzuri's vehicle.
Yeah, that's what you wrote. So if you wrote that, either you made it up, Miss Herrera, or your daughter told you that story. So only two answers. Don't give me any other answer. That's your daughter told you what happened, or you made up that story. Which one is it?
Someone wrote it wrong because I did not say that.
Well, your daughter just said to me that that's what she told you.
No, that.
Just a second. Just a second. No. Would you read that back for me, please? Maybe I'm mistaken. I said to her, did you tell your mother?
You asked her, who told your mother that story? She said, I think she misunderstood. You said, who told your mother that story? Because she swore to it. So was that a lie, yes or no? Answer, yes.
Okay. So now I'm going to come to you. Your mother wasn't there.
No.
Don't play with papers.
I'm trying to...
Your mother wasn't there on the 29th of August. So just a little bit of background on you. What do you do? Do you work? Do you go to school?
No, Your Honor, I do go to school.
What school do you go to?
I go to charter high school.
Who takes care of your son?
My father does, or my fiance's and to take care of my son while I'm at school.
Your fiance's in jail.
Yes,
Who takes care of your son?
I do.
Who does he live with?
He lives with me, Your Honor.
When did you move out of your mother's house?
I believe it was sometime in May, but I don't have an exact date for you, Your Honor.
What was the reason you moved out of your mother's house?
My family's household, there was just a lot of people, and now that, we had a baby, it was just, we kind of wanted our own space.
Who's the we?
Me and my fiance.
How old is he?
He's 20, Your Honor.
Is this the first time he's been incarcerated?
Yes.
Tell me what happened on the 29th.
What had happened was
Look
I
at
went
me.
out. At the moment, me and my fiance were separated.
Okay, and he was living someplace else.
Yes. And I went out because I was just having an emotional roller coaster. And I went out with my friends. We were.
That's Jasmine.
Yes.
Where did you go?
We went to the area that we were in, where the crash happened.
No, you went to the area where the crash happened, and?
And right there, that's when we started drinking a little bit. Then it was around 11:40, where I got a call from a relative that was taking care of my son and saying...
What relative that was taking care of your son?
It was my fiance's cousin. And I had a call. She called me saying that I needed to come pick up my son, and there was other acquaintances with me. And
who was with you?
There was just 2 other acquaintances.
Who?
I honestly don't really know them. It was just kind of
Were they in the car with you?
Yes, they were.
In addition to Jasmine?
Yes.
Were these 2 people that you had picked up at a bar?
No.
Where were you doing your drinking?
It was by across the street from a graveyard.
So in the car?
Yes.
So the alcohol was in the car?
Yes.
Who brought the alcohol?
It was one of the acquaintances, Your Honor.
That was a male acquaintance?
I believe so, yes.
What do you mean you believe so, yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that one of the male acquaintances that I saw in this video who was all bloody?
Yes.
I'm listening.
And after I got that call, I went to go pick up my son, and the other acquaintances were not getting in my car because at this time that I got the call, we were already outside. And I told them, like, let's go. I need to go pick up my son. I'm going to take you guys home, and I need to go get my son. Nobody really listened, so I just got Jasmine, and I told her that I am going to trust you. I'm gonna go get my son. I'm going to stay there because...
Just a second. So you were going to, at midnight, go to your boyfriend's cousin's house who were babysitting for your son.
Yes.
And you were going to stay at the house.
Yes.
Instead of going home.
Yes.
So you let Jasmine, you gave her the keys to your car.
Yes.
And you all had been drinking.
Yes.
And one of the boys stayed in the car with Jasmine. Or did she go back? Did you go back, Jasmine, to pick him up?
I went back to go pick them up.
So she went to the cousin's house. She got dropped off. Either you drove or she drove. You picked up one of the boys from the graveyard, where they were drinking in a graveyard. And then you were driving?
Yes.
And you crashed into her car.
Full speed, probably like 60 miles per hour.
And you crashed into her car.
Yes.
After you crashed into the car, did you stay at the scene?
I had left.
That's either a yes or a no.
No.
You took off with the boy in the car.
Yes.
And you left and took off with the boy in the car because there were a whole bunch of liquor bottles in the car.
Yep.
Yes.
That's what she says. She had to get that from someplace. Did your daughter tell you that story? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
What happened to your car?
It was towed from the place. I did call the police that night.
Just a sec. What happened to your car? Was it
towed.
fixed?
No.
Wasn't fixed?
Was not. It was totaled.
Did the insurance pay you for the car?
No, Your Honor.
Did you put in a claim?
I did.
And what happened with that claim?
They denied it.
What did you tell the insurance company? Because the insurance company didn't pay her.
At all.
Just a second. The insurance that you had on the car didn't pay her. Do you know why?
Yes.
Why?
Because I did not know at the time until 2 days later that the policy of my insurance had expired or was terminated on the 29th because my full payment didn't go through, so it was denied.
You paid $5,360 for this car 3 years ago.
Yes.
Did you get another car?
Not yet. I'm still looking, but yeah.
Great. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,360. Let me tell you this.
Your Honor?
I understand you want emotional distress. Everybody
Well, no, just the car rental, that would be nice too, because I really do want to rebuild my vehicle, and the auto body shop estimated that it would be about $7,000.
Right, $5,360.
Your Honor, sorry.
Down. What I'm telling you is this. You already have an irresponsible daughter. She's 17 years old. She has a 6-month-old child. The boyfriend that she decided to make this baby with at age 15 and a half is now in prison.
Arabelle Herrera's 17-year-old daughter and her friend of crashing into her parked car while drinking and driving.
Okay, you let her drive a car. You're her mother. You let her drive a car. You did the paperwork putting your name on the title. If her fiance's grandparents decided to give her a car, let them put it in their name. Say, I don't want to have any part of this. My daughter is irresponsible. She's demonstrated she's irresponsible. She's demonstrated by her history and certainly going out with underage people and drinking in a graveyard and then turning the car keys over to somebody who is under the influence of alcohol. I would say that I have an irresponsible child. Just a second. And if you didn't want to be held responsible for it, you shouldn't have done the paperwork in your name. You say, you think that my daughter is mature enough to have the responsibility of a car? You put the car in your name and you get the insurance. And you say that to the people who gave her the car. You don't put it in your name. She has to have somebody to say, make me whole. She's not going to do it. Jasmine, who drove drunk because she's a minor. Your daughter's not going to do it. She can't take care of herself. She makes bad judgments and she has no money. You're the grown-up. You gave her the wherewithal to drive this car. Yes, you did. You filled out the paperwork and you evidently got insurance under your name. Under your name.
Correct.
Correct.
But she was not allowed to touch that car. She took it without my permission.
Madam, you gave her the ability to drive that car. You put it in your name and you insured it. And this innocent victim has to have a donkey to pin the tail on. She can't say, well, it's not this one's fault, she's a minor. It's not that one's fault because of this. She has to have somebody. And you're it. It didn't have to be you. It could have been the people that gave her the car. Said, I'll put it in my name and I'll insure it. Grandma and grandpa of this incarcerated father. They could have said, I'll put it in my name. I want her to have a car to get back and forth. And would have been fine. Then you wouldn't be standing there. You helped her. You're the grown-up in the room. 5360, judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished.
Court is adjourned.
I do admit that my daughter was irresponsible for what she did.
I really do love my car, and I took such good care of it. So for it to end up in the condition that it's in now, it just sucks so bad.
A green Camry ran me off the road, and I tried to make a right, and that's when I crashed.
It was catastrophic. It sounded like an explosion. That's why it woke me up.
Right now, I'm just not responsible enough to have a car of my own.
I'm thankful that my car was there, because the velocity in which they hit my car, if they would have hit the building behind it, they possibly wouldn't be here anymore.
I'm glad that I wasn't in the car, nor my son was in the car.
I appreciate her just understanding that I am a victim in this situation, and it's just been hectic and crazy, and I'm just thankful to have some resolution.
You know, when I saw that title from that case, it made me think, I should really find my title. I know I put it in a safe place, but I just can't quite remember where that safe place is, but it is a very important document, so
yeah, welcome to a senior moment. Yeah, you look for it when you go home. People don't realize that being the owner of a car gives you a certain responsibility, and you're supposed to exercise judgment about who uses that car. And if you have a child who acts irresponsibly about other things, and I'm sure this is not the first time. This wasn't the first rodeo for getting alcohol and going to sit at the cemetery and drink. Then you have to be careful not to have your name attached to that. because ultimately your 17-year-old or your 16-year-old isn't responsible because they have nothing. Somebody has to be responsible for an innocent victim, and it will usually fall at the feet of the person who has the money to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be very cautious about lending your name to somebody else's potential irresponsibility. That to me is the takeaway.
Yeah, I agree.
And find your title.
Jeremy Wisman is suing jet ski renter Amanda Hartley for property damages and lost revenue.
Court come to order.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
How are you, Kevin?
Good. Case number 1142, Wisman versus Hartley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Wisman, you have a business in renting jet skis?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you had the business?
April 2021.
What did you do before that?
I was in the military, and I work in missile defense also. That's my full-time job.
So this is sideline.
It is.
Did you buy equipment?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you buy?
I have 3 sets of jet skis.
When was the first time you purchased jet skis?
September of 2020.
What kind?
Sea-Doo watercraft.
Were they new or used?
Used.
How much did you pay for them?
$7,000.
What year were they?
One's a 2006, one's a 2008.
Take a look. And you had 3 sets, you said?
Correct.
When did you buy the second set?
The second set I bought in April of this year, 2021.
Were they also used?
Yes, ma'am. 2006 and 2008.
Also Sea-Doos?
One's a Sea-Doo, one's a Yamaha.
How much did you pay for them?
$14,500.
What was the difference?
The market,
Fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
everything was
fascinating.
going a lot higher than Blue Book value.
Because they couldn't get parts and stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
I know. Car manufacturers have the same problem. So you paid double for pretty much the same thing.
Pretty close.
And when did you buy the third set?
July of this year.
And what did you buy?
They're actually 1997s. I had a friend who had them in storage and just wasn't using them and asked if I wanted to use them in my rental business.
And they're still working?
No.
No.
No, I got them. They had been sitting for a couple years and they weren't running, and they're still with the mechanic.
They're still not
running. They haven't been used at all.
How much did you
summer.
pay them for those?
$1,000.
Oh, not bad.
No.
Okay. So the ones that you rented to Miss Hartley were the ones that you purchased in April of 2021?
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that you returned them damaged?
Yes.
And the defendant said, well, they may have hit a rock or two, but nothing serious. Is that your answer?
No.
Well, did I make that up? I don't know.
No, so there were some rocks at the lake.
Hold on 1 second.
So for 2006 Sea-Doo, depending on the model, it looks like they range between $7,000 and $11,000.
For 2006?
Yes.
So you got a bargain in 2020?
Yeah, when I bought them, the Blue Book value was a lot lower, though, too.
Yeah, amazing. Okay. I thought that you indicated here that, yeah, you may have anchored them someplace, they may have hit a rock or two, but they
There
weren't.
were some rocks at the lake, but not that I had run into any rocks.
No, I didn't say you ran into a rock. I didn't say you ran into a rock. I thought it said that you sort of anchored them and then you went doing something and they may have hit up against a rock. Isn't that what you said?
I mean, maybe I misunderstood you, but I didn't ride up against on rocks.
No, I didn't say that you rode against a rock. Did you indicate to the plaintiff that when you had the jet skis out, you had anchored them? They did have anchors?
Yes.
You had anchored them and maybe gone for a swim, gone for whatever, and they may have hit from a wave, from a current, they may have hit against a rock.
Yes.
Okay. Now, that's not something that you think about, like, you know, the baby burped on my jet ski. That's, oh my goodness, I anchored it too close to rocks, and I heard it hitting up against the rock, so you heard it.
No, I had it anchored up at a boat dock, of which is really where they should be, right? Have them on a boat dock. So there are rocks around the lake, but not that I was allowing them to repeat and hit against rocks or that I was hearing them against any rocks. We checked on them throughout the night. They weren't really moving very much. They seemed very okay. Wasn't very windy.
Do you have photographs of them?
I do.
I'd like to see them. Miss Hartley, when you took the jet skis, what color were they?
So the jet skis were supposed to be red ones. That was the ones that we discussed from you picking up. That's the ones that was listed online.
The red ones, sir, are the ones from 2020?
Yes.
The ones that you used were the ones that you purchased in 2021?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any reason that you switched them?
I believe they had broke from the previous rental.
The ones from 2020?
Yeah, they were in the shop, so I had that set left. And when we did discuss it, I wasn't 100% sure whether it was going to be the red ones or the ones I had just...
Doesn't matter 100% sure or not.
Your Honor, if I may speak, that's not what he had said to me on the day that we met.
What did he tell you?
So that day, I viewed the Sea-Doo and I viewed the Yamaha, and then he says the red ones were out, rented, had not been brought back yet. That the Sea-Doo and that the Yamaha is not what I would be taking out because they had rock sucked up in them, water sucked up in them. He still had to go through and clean it out from people that dropped it off, left it damaged with him. And then when I went and picked up and paid the rest of the amount to take jet skis out, these were the ones that he sent with me. So since he changed his mind on that, and these were what was sent out with me, I presumed that they were safe to drive and that they had been repaired.
Let me ask you this question. Did you take them both out?
I did.
Okay, and you used them?
Yes.
Owner Jeremy Wisman claims Amanda Hartley damaged both of his jet skis while renting them.
Let me ask you this question. Did you take them both out?
I did.
Okay, and you used them?
Yes.
And did you take the trailer?
Yes.
Did anything happen with the trailer?
So with the trailer, it was missing pins, and so we had to purchase our own pins with the trailer. And then the lights were not working, so we had to purchase our own lights for that trailer. So when we dropped off the trailer and the jet skis, I had let him know that the lights were not working. I had to then purchase my own.
Did you send him that by text or by phone?
By message, by
May I see
messenger,
it?
yes. Let's see.
Mr. Wisman, the prior people who you said rented the jet ski, you said that they damaged them, which is possible if not probable when somebody uses jet skis, because I know my own grandchildren ride around like lunatics in them when they have an opportunity. Why don't you have insurance if this is a business of yours?
I do have personal insurance.
Not personal insurance, I'm talking about any kind of insurance for damage to your business, to your property.
Well, business insurance was...
For the jet skis.
They
you
are
paid $14,000 for them. I'm just curious.
So I do have insurance on them. I have that right here. The reason I don't want to make a claim on them is because my insurance skyrockets or they would drop me because I have so many pieces of equipment insured on them.
Oh, well, that's a problem.
Your Honor.
May I see the text messages? That, Mr. Wisman, might be your problem.
Can I speak for a moment, please?
Yes, in a second. Wait, okay. I'm reading this. Do you have the next page of this? This is on June 19th at 12:41 p.m. We haven't made it to the lake yet. Someone must have drove the trailer into the water because there was water in the lights. The brake lights don't work and there's no keys to the blue jet ski. Then you write back, the key was in the center console. They worked when you guys took them and the keys were in both.
They picked them up at 10 o'clock at night. The lights worked.
Right here is where it says that I bought some lights. Okay.
Don't read it, just give it. What does this mean, no sucked up rocks?
Because he had asked me, was there water and rocks sucked up in it? Because when I picked those ones up, he said that's what he had to clean out, what was in those Sea-Doos and the Yamaha prior for me picking them up, which is why he said I was going to have the red ones instead of those.
Got it. Would you show this to the plaintiff, please, and tell him to explain that to me?
This is her telling me that she didn't suck any rocks up.
The front part of that jet ski is what I am aware of the damage that I did.
Great. Let me know exactly how you damaged the front of the jet ski.
I was driving into the front of the shore and then gravely bumped against the boat dock.
And when you bumped against the boat dock, what happened to the jet ski?
So that's when the front piece of that plastic piece had broke.
Was there any damage to the Sea-Doo?
No.
Okay, you drove the Sea-Doo?
Yes.
Could you stand up for me, please? Your last name is?
Hartley.
Mr. Hartley, you drove the Sea-Doo and your wife drove the Yamaha.
Yes.
Did you stay on those all weekend?
We probably switched back and forth, but...
Okay. Did you have any accident with the Sea-Doo?
No, ma'am.
Hit anything?
Nope.
Did you see any damage to the Sea-Doo?
No.
And when you returned them, the damage that you saw on the Yamaha was this front panel damage that your wife had done?
Yeah.
How much did you pay the plaintiff?
$480.
For the weekend?
For the weekend, yes.
For the two?
The deposit was $300, and then when we picked him up, we had paid him the $180, and he said that was fine.
And when you dropped them off, was he there?
Yes, so I assume he was inside his home. We were messaging. As I was there at his home, I'm texting him, hey, I'm here. Do you want to come outside and overview these? He then declined to come outside and look at them.
May I see those texts?
Oh, I don't believe I have those of him declining to come outside.
Well, I'd like to see your text to him indicating that you're there.
I never got that text.
I don't think I have it within this, but we were
Well, that's
texting the whole
important.
way that we were there.
That's important.
Can I speak, ma'am? My last message to her was at 10:45 that night, saying that since there's no daylight and I had to work the next day, to go ahead and just leave them in the front yard.
Got it. So you just told her to leave it?
I told her to leave it at 10:45, but I never received any response back. No, okay. I'm here.
And she left it?
Yes.
And the next day you looked and you saw damage?
Yes, ma'am.
And the only thing that she advised you of was damage to the blue Yamaha?
She did say that there's scuffs and stuff on the bottom of the holes also.
Well,
but she wasn't sure if that was still there. But they weren't scuffs, they were giant holes.
I didn't believe it was from me.
They were giant holes?
Yeah, what you saw in the pictures.
Okay, I would like to see the repair bill, and I would like to see why, if you have these insured, why you didn't use the insurance unless you have a deductible.
They're not fully repaired yet, so I don't have the repair bill.
Your Honor, I have right here that he is still, they must be fixed because he has them re-rented out, listed online.
May I see it?
Yes. And from when I screenshot that yesterday, it said a week ago.
Is this the Yamaha you used?
Yes.
Did you list these out for rent, sir, after the defendant used them?
I did, yes.
Just,
I have them.
The answer is you did. So they must be available.
So they're patched. They're not fully fixed. Oh. And I haven't. They're at the mechanic right now.
Mr. Wisman, unless you can show me an estimate to fix the front panel that she says was damaged, I'm dismissing your case.
The front bill? This is just the front piece.
I'd like to see it.
I ordered it and replaced it myself.
I'd like to see it. It was $114.59. That's the only piece you're getting reimbursed for.
Not the holes?
Oh, no. Not that you re-rent it again. I don't know how many people you rent these things to and say, well, I patched them up and charged the exact same thing as she did, and then they use them, and with your patchwork, maybe they come off again, maybe you say that they damaged them. Listen, Mr. Wisman, if you're running a business and your business is renting jet skis and you have insurance, then use it. But you're not renting damaged jet skis. You're suing her for $10,000, which would make these things totally inoperable. But you're renting them to other people.
Them once.
And later ski owner Jeremy Wisman is accusing his customer, Amanda Hartley, of damaging his jet skis and not returning all his equipment.
Listen, Mr. Wisman, if you're running a business and your business is renting jet skis and you have insurance, then use it. But you're not renting damaged jet skis. You're suing her for $10,000, which would make these things totally inoperable. But you're renting them to other people.
Them once.
You're renting them to other people.
They're going to be repaired. Fully.
Well, they're not going to be repaired by her.
Right now, it's the cosmetics.
$114.59. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished.
And what about all the missing equipment?
That's it. We're done.
I'm not happy with it.
I'm just glad that the good person won in this.
I got a patch on him.
So I tried to make it right with him, and then when he started to have these excessive charges and have damages that were not mine, it was wrong.
They're going to be fixed fully this winter.
So that's when it needed to come to this.
They work. They're just cosmetically not finished.
Probably through an actual business, not private renter.
Probably do it for another year and see what happens.
I actually thought that while dressed in a suit and tie and sounding very good, when the defendant said, I sent him a note and I said, we didn't suck up any rocks, but I did damage the front and I'm sending you a picture of it. I thought two things were disingenuous about the plaintiff. A, he didn't use his insurance, and it's a business. He said, well, my rates will go up. Well, otherwise then you're stuck with the damage. You're stuck with the damage because usually if you rent a car, either you pay for the insurance when you rent a car or you self-insure. And the second thing, and the most important thing was, he said there were gaping holes in them and he took pictures of the holes. But then he acknowledged that he had listed them for rent. And then he said, I patched the holes. Who knows if a patch is good? You're out in the middle of a lake, and if the patch fails, then that's dangerous. Anyway, I was not impressed with him. If you're going to be in the business, this was our second jet ski case. I don't know why that's become such a popular business. I think probably because of the pandemic, Sarah.
I think people are just spending more time with their families outside.
We've seen our family with jet skis.
Mm-hmm.
Some are
A few
normal.
incidents here and there.
Some are normal.
Mm-hmm.
And some power them up and stand up on them. And you can ride them standing up and sitting down. By their very nature, they're designed to be driven aggressively.
Yeah.
Except if they're driven by a 70 and an 80-year-old, then, you're lucky to sort of make it around the lake. Anyway, I didn't believe him. That's the bottom line.
Case number 1164, Angeles versus Keelan. Please step forward.
Jorge Angeles is suing his former friend, Keontae Keeling, for the return of a car and a coin collection.
Miss Keeling.
Yes.
Where is his coin collection?
It's in a car, in my Volkswagen Jetta.
Where is it?
It's parked in front of my apartment.
How did you get here to court today?
A rental.
I have to tell you that I'm not liking your attitude.
Yes.
Do you understand that?
Yes, I do understand.
Case is a relatively simple one. You and the defendant were friends. A certain period of time you were roommates. According to you, just friends. There was a time when you needed a car. A friend was selling a car. According to the plaintiff, it was a Jetta. He agreed to advance the money for the car. He did. You agreed to pay him for the car. You didn't. He took the car. You went to the house and took his coin collection. That's how you have his coin collection. According to you, you were holding the coin collection as collateral to get the car back. He's a truck driver. While he was out of town, you went and took the car back.
Yes.
So far, you acknowledge all of those things.
Yes.
Right? Two things. Is anything today that I just said to you inaccurate?
Well, yes. As far as me going to his home, I rented out a room in his house. So
from when to when?
From December 2020 till I took the car in August 2nd.
Where was he when you took the car?
Out of town.
The car is in both your names.
Yes, it is.
It was in both your names because you were supposed to pay him for the car, and as soon as you paid him for the car, he was going to take his name off the title. That was your agreement.
Yes.
Who has the title for the car?
George.
Great. Would you give me the title, please? I see it. Don't leave, Kevin. Where does she sign this car over to him? You know where? Right there. Sign it. Right now.
The date and signature.
Date it. Give it to him, please.
There you go, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
You getting an appearance fee for coming to court today?
Yes.
How much?
$250.
We're going to hold that. He's going to pick up his car, which you didn't pay for. Do you understand?
I
Do you
understand.
understand?
I understand.
If the car isn't there, or if there's any damage to the car, he's going to report it stolen, because now he has full title to the car. Do you understand?
I understand.
Great. Where is the coin collection?
It's in the car in the Volkswagen.
Where exactly in the car?
It's in the trunk.
Do you know where the car is now located?
Yes.
Do you have a second set of keys for the car?
I have one set of keys, yes. Yes, I do.
You're not to go near the car again. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
If you do, he's going to call the police. Then we're going to play him this tape. Do you understand?
I understand.
Very good. You've got your car back, and you've got your coin collection back. It's in the trunk.
Okay.
Any difficulty, you let me know.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We're done here.
Court is adjourned.
I feel like he gave me the car as a gift.
Well, I was just trying to help her get a car to go to her job.
Because he wanted me to be his girlfriend.
We're just trying to be nice, not buy. You know, you don't buy people, you just be nice.
No, I took the coins out of anger because he took the car from me first.
I was the one that offered her a car.
That's what, just out of revenge, I just took his coins.
So she will not be Ubering all the time.
I'm not mad, I just get my own car. I know what to do now.
Sarah Rose, that was easy peasy. That was very easy. You had a defendant who knew she was in the wrong, looking maybe to get over. She was nice looking, had a nice smile, took advantage.
Knew she took advantage.
Knew she took advantage. So didn't even fight me on signing over the title?
He's now made whole, which is our job.
That's absolutely right. if you can walk out here and if the right thing happens, then we've done our job.
Good day.
Mary Ann Sullivan is suing her former business partner, Kayla Phillips, for dog show costs, boarding fees, and RV storage.
Court come to order. All rise. Hello, Judge.
Be seated, please.
Case 1038 Sullivan versus Phillips.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, there are so many pieces to this case. It's like a puzzle. I'm going to have to separate it a little bit at a time. Miss Sullivan, you're involved in probably breeding and showing dogs.
Yes.
What kind of dogs?
Berger Picards and French Bulldogs, and I co-own a Beauceron.
Do you have pictures of those dogs?
Yes, I
I'd
do.
like to see. I know what a French Bulldog looks like. I'm just curious to see what the others look like.
I have a picture of the Beauceron, and this is a picture of my Westminster top 10 Berger Picard. They're both herding dogs.
Handsome. Handsome. Okay, and what kind of dogs are you involved in?
I have Beaucerons and Connie Corzos.
Okay, this is what I gather. The two of you met at some sort of a show and you became friends. You, Miss Sullivan, who had been in the business for a long time, decided that you would mentor the defendant, and you had a house trailer?
An RV.
An RV. That Miss Sullivan allowed you to move on to her property. And on your property, you said you keep dog kennels because in addition to showing dogs, you also, I assume, board them?
I just was starting to board them when Kayla moved over.
That would have been a good thing to have someone assist you because you do traveling and you do traveling for shows, whatever. Anyway, so it sounded as if it was a good idea to work out. Your lawsuit has several parts. There came a parting of the ways of the two of you that was unpleasant, and that had to do with the fact that Miss Phillips was boarding dogs for someone else for a fee, Dobermans, I believe, and she went off to do a show with one of her dogs, asked you, and you agreed to mind those dogs. I assume you were getting paid for taking care of those dogs. And those dogs got into a scuffle with some of your dogs. Some of your dogs were injured. You tried to intervene. You were bitten by one of the dogs. Miss Phillips didn't come home fast enough for you. She said, I will come home when I finish the show. She came home. There was another bit of a kerfuffle where you alleged she assaulted you by pushing you. You weren't injured, but it's part of your counterclaim, so that's nonsense. And she left. You claim that she owes you for several things. You claim that she owes you for an RV hookup, which I assume means whatever she did with her RV, almost like rent. Miss Phillips says there was never an agreement for rent. You never discussed rent with her when she moved her RV onto your property. Number two, you say she owes you her share of a trip to the National Dog Show, which you covered expenses for, and you also want the money that she received for boarding the Dobermans because you were the one who watched them and not her. Yeah. She has a counterclaim. She says you owe her money for dog show fees. She says you assaulted her, which is nonsense, and I don't understand what photography services you're talking about. I think it's all a lot of nonsense, but I will get to it and dispose of it quickly. Tell me about the arrangements for hookup fees and rent when she moved in, and tell me the date she moved her RV onto your property.
She moved on April 12th of this year.
On what date did she move out?
She moved out on the 17th of May.
And so 1 month she stayed?
Yes.
And what was she supposed to pay you for putting her RV on your property?
Well, the RV, I'm going to let that month go, but when she left under the circumstances, I let her know that I was going to start charging her the going rate of $40 a day for storage.
You mean when she left?
And then she didn't.
Let's just say, just because you told her that you were going to start to charge her doesn't mean that you had a contract. Did she say, okay? Did she say, I agree to that?
No.
We didn't speak after the dog attack and she left.
Well, then that's not a contract. If she left her stuff there, you could have disposed of it. What did you do with her stuff?
Well, she told me I was extorting her and brought the cops, and I allowed her dad to
Just a second, did they pick up the stuff? Fine. Well, you didn't have a contract with her. You can't have a contract made by one side. A contract has to be the meeting of the minds with two people. So let's get over that nonsense. Now, how much money were you supposed to give her for your share of going to the National Dog Show?
Originally, our agreement was that she was going to use her companion ticket with Alaska, and that was going to be $100. And in return for that, I was showing her dog for her. at the AKC National Dog Show.
Okay, so she was going to use her companion ticket, plus you were going to give her $100.
No, the companion ticket was going to be a fee of $100 through Alaska at her purchase price for the ticket.
Did you work for the airlines?
No, I did not. Here's the bills with her name on it for her ticket and the
May I see
upgrade
it?
to have the dogs in bulkhead and me paying for her dog show fee and half the hotel.
I'm listening. I'm adding and listening.
And that's when she marched up to me and she grabbed my arm that was holding the keys with one hand and my shirt with the other, and she shook me and she was like, "Give me my keys," and cursed at me.
So you reached into the car and you got out her car key.
I did.
The new iPhone 15 Pro is here. Built with titanium and featuring the most powerful iPhone camera yet. Get it with Boost Infinite and transcend to a wireless utopia. The new titanium iPhone 15 Pro, on us, no trade-in needed. Enjoy unlimited wireless in the latest iPhone every year for $60 a month.
Mary Ann Sullivan claims her former business partner, Kayla Phillips, owes for the cost of dog shows and boarding fees. Kayla is countersuing for dog showing fees and an assault.
I'm listening.
So
I'm adding and listening.
Originally, the agreement was that I would show her dog for her while we went. And then after the fact that we agreed on the dates, she then informed me that the ticket was $650 instead of our agreed upon $100.
Well, if she didn't get it, she didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you make any payments to her?
No.
With regard...
She didn't inform me that she had actually paid the $650 for the ticket, and she did that without consulting me first, because I made it clear that I wasn't wanting to spend those expenses to go to the dog show in the first place.
What else? Boarding fees. What kind of boarding fees are you talking about?
She charged $2,000 a dog to board and train, which was $66 a day for her. I charged $35 a day to take care of a dog and kennel him. So 10 days that I took care of, I'm only charging her for the Dobermans because I took care of her 4 dogs and 7 goats.
Well, just a second. Did you have an agreement with regard to that? Is my question.
Yes, she said that we would.
Let's go back. Tell me what agreement you had, when it was made, where it was made, what the discussion was.
We both agreed.
No, not we both agreed. That's a conclusion.
We discussed that
when?
The month before she moved in.
The month before she moved in,
if I took
you
care
said
of the
to
dogs,
her,
I would get a board fee of the days that I was alone with the dogs when she was traveling, and then she would get the rest while she was there.
Did you have that discussion with her?
No. We didn't actually discuss anything because when I approached her about discussing what our plan was, I got shuffled off like, oh, we'll talk about it next week. So we never officially discussed anything.
Well, how could you talk about boarding the month before she moved in?
She had planned to bring the Dobermans with her.
Were you permanently taking care of the Dobermans?
No.
When did you start to take care of the Dobermans?
The 13th of April.
So the Dobermans came in with you the day after you moved on to the property?
Yeah, they arrived with their owner, but it wasn't just me. Like, this was a joint thing that we were trying to start, but she wasn't very communicative about our agreement. She just didn't want to talk about it till later, and so I was a little confused as how it was working, and I was taking care of the dogs and doing all the training and stuff, except when I left for the dog show.
And you left for the dog show on what date?
I left on the 14th of May.
All right, so let me try to understand this, Miss Phillips. I want you to explain to me what you brought to the table. So far, she's giving you the property on which to put your RV so that you can live. She's providing the property and the kennels for your own dogs and for dogs that you're going to be boarding. She's providing the expenses to travel to the dog show.
So
airfare, hotel, fees for registering the dog. You must have gotten paid from the Doberman owners.
I did.
You did. And how much did you get paid?
$2,000.
A day? A month?
Per month.
Was that for both dogs?
Per dog.
Per dog. So you got $4,000 for the month.
But I was also in charge of their expenses while they're there, their food.
So you got $4,000.
Plus she had a German Shepherd.
Their titling.
How much of the $4,000 did you share with the plaintiff?
None.
Take a breath. How much?
None.
None. Okay. So now I'm still confused. When you left on May 14th, you left her in charge of the dogs for just those 4 days. And the dog that you went to show was your dog or her dog?
I brought 5 dogs with me. I delivered one of her puppies to their puppy owner on my way down there.
Whose dogs were they?
They were all either owned or co-owned by me.
Owned by you and co-owned with the plaintiff or someone else?
Mm-hmm.
What's
with someone else. I did bring
our
co-owned dog. One of them was our co-owned dog.
Okay, is that
But
correct?
She was only there to get her eyes tested, not to be shown.
But she brought
Yes.
her.
Yes, she
and
did.
she was in charge of her.
Yes.
Okay. And was that a trip that you went to by car or by air?
By car.
How far was it?
It's a 6-hour drive.
Okay, so far you owe her $650. And how much do you think she owes you for kenneling the dogs?
I figured that she made $4,000 for both the dogs. I took care of both dogs for 10 days.
Now, did you make a contract with her?
Okay, but I
don't care what you figured.
Okay,
Do you
but
understand?
She was going to pay me board if I took care of her paid dogs.
Is that correct?
No, because we never discussed it.
No, I don't believe that that's true. She owes you $650. Now let's get to your counterclaim.
Well, I also, when I was at the property...
Just a second. I have a counterclaim. Dog show fees. What is that about?
So when I show her dogs for her...
Not when. Give me a date. A date you showed her dog for her and she didn't pay you a fee.
I showed the dogs January 16th to the 19th.
I'm not interested.
Okay.
Keep going. Anytime. After April, when you all decided to move in. Yes, together. Let's go.
None.
No.
I
Nothing.
did not show her
Okay,
dogs.
good. What are photography fees?
So I took professional photos of her 4-week-old puppies for her to use for her advertisements.
And what was your agreement?
There was no verbal agreement.
Perfect. So you had no contract. Now you're
Yes,
going to
but
describe.
it's
Now you're going to describe the assault.
So when I returned back from the dog show, it was late. It was almost midnight.
10 o'clock. I was up.
So I got there. I got all the dogs settled in, and I went to bed. I got up in the morning, got up around 6:30. I took care of all of the animals, all my dogs and the goats that were on the property. And I then was putting all the dog show stuff away. And she came out, and I waved, and I was carrying a crate, finished putting that away. By the time I came back out of the shed, putting things away, was walking back into the house. I went in to my RV. She texted me, like, I'm really sad you're avoiding me, and to come out, and she needed the money from the puppy.
Did you give her the money for the puppy?
I gave her the money.
How much was the puppy?
The puppy was a total of $3,500, but I think that there was only $3,000 in cash because the deposit had already been paid, over $500. And so I gave her that, and when I came out to give that to her, she was in her truck, and I go up, and I said, I was hoping that we could talk this afternoon about everything that happened when I was gone.
Everything you mean the fight where she was bitten?
Yeah, the fight that she separated incorrectly. And talk about that, and she cut me off, and she was like, Kayla, I am the most important thing in your life, and I feel very unimportant because you did not come in this morning to take care of me or my animals.
Okay.
Of moving off her property without paying her share of dog show costs and boarding fees.
Keep going.
And at that point, it kind of just escalated to the point where she was kind of just talking about everything that she didn't like about how I was there and when I was there and everything like that. And I said, Marian, I'm really sorry that I made you feel unimportant. That wasn't my intention. And that, you know, I understand that it's not working and it's okay. And I'm happy to go home. And then she decided that she wanted our co-owned Beauceron dog Scout back. And I told her that that wasn't our agreement because 2 weeks before I moved, she called me and verbally returned the dog saying that she couldn't handle the dog anymore. And so that's when it just started to escalate because I refused to give the dog to her. And then she decided to take one of my dogs instead. So she went in and got my dog and was dragging my dog to the car. And I got nervous and scared. And so I had her truck keys in my hands and I was holding it. And I was like...
So you reached in to the car and you got out her car keys.
I did. And I was holding them and I was like, please let my dog go. Like, this situation is making me entirely uncomfortable. And I think we just need to take a deep breath and talk about it when you get back. I'll be here. And that's when she marched up to me and she grabbed my arm that was holding the keys with one hand and my shirt with the other. And she shook me. And she was like, give me my keys, and cursed at me. And I just kind of held them as far as I could away from my body. She let go of my arm to grab the key, and I slipped the leash off the dog. The dog immediately came behind me, and I went to my RV and got on the steps and just stood in front of them, and I repeated that I was uncomfortable with the situation, that I was getting scared, and that I think that we just need to take a breather. And that's when she tried to push me out of the way off the steps of the RV.
What do you mean she tried to push you? Either she pushed you or not?
She did push me, and I just sat down so I didn't fall off the steps.
Okay.
And trying to get into the RV to get the dog out that she thought she was.
But she didn't?
She did not, no, because I sat down and then she couldn't move me after that.
Okay. And then she left in her truck?
After yelling at me for several minutes.
Okay, but she left in her truck?
She did.
Okay, and then you left?
Well, I called several people. I called my mom and one of my good friends because I have a very sheltered life. I've never been treated like that by another person ever.
Okay. But you left that day?
I did leave that day.
And did you leave the RV?
I did.
So you left the RV on the property?
Yes.
And what about the dogs?
I took all the dogs and I took my goats.
And where did you take them?
I took them to my mom's house in Washington.
Okay. When did you come back for the RV?
I messaged her that evening saying that I was really sad about the situation and that I was thinking of her. Then the next day, I texted her saying that my dad would be, because my dad has the truck that can pull the RV because it's a fifth wheel. And I told her, I said, my dad would be back this week from Arizona and that I could come on Saturday to come receive it. And she responded was, all contact will be through my lawyer moving forward. And then I never heard from her again.
When did you go and get the RV?
So she sent me a certified letter saying that it was abandoned.
Can I see the letter?
Yeah.
Can I see? You must have the letter. Where's the letter? It's a copy of the letter.
Well, the letter was sent to not my house. So it was sent to my grandparents' house in Boring, Oregon.
That's the address you used?
Okay. That I will be 6:30 days have passed without. Okay, so on June 21st, you wrote to her that it's been 30 days without arrangements of money owed and removal. Per Oregon statute, I have to inform you of the removal. If you wish to get the items, please bring cash. On Saturday, that will be $5,822. Well, you already now understand that you can't have a one-sided contract.
Yes.
Okay. Did she finally remove the RV?
Her father removed most of her contacts that day and was to come back Monday or Tuesday, and he did not come back to get the rest of her stuff.
So what did you do with the rest of her stuff?
I put it out on the road, and people picked it up.
Okay. But he removed the RV?
Yes.
Very unfortunate.
I actually have a sworn statement from my dad.
I don't read sworn statements.
Because he did talk
Just a second. Okay. I don't read sworn statements, and you can't tell me what he said, because that's hearsay. And you don't have a case on a counterclaim. You do owe her $650 for the cost of going to the dog show. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Court adjourned. Right this way, ma'am.
I think that Marianne, when I moved to the property, assumed that I was going to be taking care of everything on the property and not just maintaining the business that we were trying to start together.
Actually, I did a lot more work. She worked with the dogs, and not every day, which she was charging for.
Extremely upset that I didn't conform to how she felt like I should handle the situation, and unfortunately, that just wasn't possible.
And I had him 10 of the 30 days, so there wasn't a lot of training going on. And, I learned that I don't want to take care of another person.
Well, now we'll see her when I see her.
Well, I won't do that again, and I am very sorry that I was such a poor judge of character.
That case showed that one important thing I learned in law school is that you can't make a contract with yourself. You can't decide on terms and make an agreement and sign it one-sided.
Yeah, that's true. And that's true even if the terms are reasonable. And plaintiff had perfectly reasonable terms, but they were agreed to only with herself. So you need to...
Mutual assent.
Yes, mutual consent to make a contract. And there has to be an offer, acceptance, and consideration. That's what we learned. So that didn't quite cut it. Anyway, it was a business relationship that didn't work out. It only was for a month, so nobody lost anything. And they were both very nice people. Yeah. All turned out okay.
Erica Andrews and her cousin Shakina Hardrick are suing former friends Crystal Young and her daughters for assaults, vandalism, and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Case 1039, Andrews Hardwick versus Young, Thompson Young.
Can I have just the moms, please? And daughters can have a seat. So let me tell you that before this, I read the case. I read both of your cases, your complaint and your answer, your counterclaim. And before I came in today, my security detail said to me that this was what they call here a high security case because there's lots of bad feeling between your two families. So let's agree to do this today, all right?
Yes.
It's my job to try to make it better. And I take that job very seriously. So let's try to keep the level of discourse civil, because there was a time when, according to what I read, that you were all good friends, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's much better than being enemies.
Yes.
Better for your blood pressure, right? Better for your peace of mind.
Yes.
The world is in a state of panic and fear, so we don't need to contribute any further angst. So let's see if we can make it better. According to what I read, you two women have been friends for 20 years.
Yes, we have.
So that you were actually kids when you started to be friends. How old are you?
I'm 24.
28.
29.
Okay. And your girls, these are your daughters?
No, this is my cousin.
Cousin?
Those are my daughters.
Daughters.
Yeah.
They were little and all sort of got along. You went on a trip to Florida as a family, both of you.
Yes.
And your cousin?
Yes.
And your daughters?
Yes.
I don't know what happened in Florida, and I don't know whether it's going to make it better or worse, but I have to have some sort of background. If you went on a trip to Florida together, and you live, according to your papers, in Philadelphia?
Yes.
When did you go on the trip to Florida?
We went on the trip for Florida for Christmas. We left December the 23rd.
And was it just this group that went?
No, it was actually a group of 21 of us. I had a party of 17 of my own.
And how many people were in your party?
Myself and my 4 daughters.
Did you all stay at the same hotel?
Yes, we did.
Just not in the same building.
But in the same hotel?
Yes.
You want to start telling me about the incident in Florida that started this negativity going?
I was the one to ask everybody that they want Shakina to pay off one card, then everybody paying separately. We all was in agreement of saying yes.
Everybody agreed to put it on one credit card, uncross your hands, because it's better. So it was agreed to put it on your cousin's credit card, and
Yes.
everybody would pay for their share. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so that night I collect everyone's money. That night we were all in my apartment because they lived in another building. We all was agreeing to pay Shakina the $26 per person.
And what did that cover?
It covered, we did an aquarium and a museum.
Okay, and that was just the tickets?
That was just for the tickets, yes.
Okay, great. So that was just tickets for those two functions, and that was that day or the next day?
That was on December the 26th.
Okay, so you were in, and there were no incidents between December 23rd and December 26th?
No.
So everything was everything fine between the 23rd and the 26th?
No, ma'am, it was not.
Okay. So you think that difficulty started before the 26th?
Actually, the difficulty started once we arrived. It was a shift in Mrs. Andrews' demeanor and attitude. At the airport, we were sisters. We took pictures, we were sisters. It was a warm greeting. Once we arrived in Florida, her whole demeanor changed, everything changed. The first day we arrived, I wanted to take her son, Jalen, out to the pool. She told me no, Jalen couldn't go. Prior before that, she already took Jalen away from me. We raised our kids together. We have a long history of raising our kids together. Once we got there, Miss Andrews and her party, everyone that she invited in her party, it was just, the whole demeanor just changed. Her whole demeanor changed. She started treating me nasty.
But that was so unlike her, according to what you tell me.
Yeah, it's deeper than that, than just this trip.
Okay. Did you think that there was any jealousy?
From the way I feel, I'm going to be honest, I've always felt like she had some jealousy towards me.
But managed to keep it in check.
I felt like she was my friend. I felt like we were family, more than just friends, but family.
So, and sometimes family gets annoyed with family.
I'm just saying it can go both ways between the both of us.
Okay. So, the case is each one of you was claiming assault by the other and your kids and vandalism of your property and harassment. I have that from both of you. That's what the case is about.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get to what happened. So you got a sense that she changed in her attitude from the time you left the airport until the time you landed in Florida, there was something wrong. You knew that you didn't do anything wrong.
Yes.
Did something happen, Miss Andrews, on the flight or at the airport that rubbed you the wrong way?
No, Your Honor. We had a wonderful flight. I have pictures that we enjoyed ourselves. I cooked Christmas dinner for everyone. Everyone came to my condo. These young ladies was at my condo every day. I had no idea that nothing was wrong.
Okay. And, you know, you had this large group of 17 together. Was that emotionally draining, having to run herd on 17 people?
No, because everyone was there, well, grown with their own children or grandchildren. So I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Everybody was there with their children.
Okay. So you didn't have any negative feelings at that time towards the defendant?
Not at all.
And do you remember the incident she's talking about when she wanted to take your son to the pool?
Well, that was actually before the 26th. And at that time, someone who went on a trip with us that was at my party had an accident with their grandchild with the pool. So at that time, we were already waiting to resolve the issue about a little person having an incident in the pool with us. So at that time, we wasn't not into going out or anything. It wasn't no attitude. I just said he couldn't go.
Okay.
Erica Andrews and her cousin Shakina Hardrick claim their former friends Crystal Young and her daughters assaulted them and vandalized their property. The defendants are countersuing for assault and property damage.
So somebody in your party had a little child who had an accident in the pool?
Yeah, she almost drowned in the pool. So, you know, we just stayed in the room until we heard how the baby was going to do before we started going out on activities. But mind you, which that was the first day we got there. So what Chris was Young talking about, that was during that time. We just said no. We put all the kids in one room with my children, and we went to the hospital. That's how that went.
Can I please speak on that? We arrived on the 23rd. The 23rd, once we arrived, we all were checked into the resort. After we all got settled in, I went over to Miss Andrews' room, which was on the 23rd. The baby actually had the accident, which was on the 24th, the very next day. This particular day I'm talking about was the day we arrived. When I went over there and asked her, oh no, Jalen has homework, my son has to do this, he has to do that. And this was her words exactly. Normally when we arrive on vacation, we normally rest the first day. I said, okay, I left. I went back to my room, my youngest daughter, which is 10, and my other daughter, my third daughter, which she felt not to mention. We all went down to the pool. The next day, this is when this incident that she's saying had happened, which was on the 24th with the baby.
Okay, so something was brewing, at least from your end, something was brewing. Did anything more definitive happen during this vacation?
It was the way how she was talking to me, talking down to me, like I guess I was one of her kids or anything, one of her children or something. I'm very respectful because she gets around a lot of people. Miss Andrews like to showboat and show off and talk to people any kind of way, talk down to you, think that she's your boss. She likes to run everything, but she cannot run me. If I paid my money to go on a trip, I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. She's not going to tell me to do. She's not my leader. I'm a woman just like she is.
Got it. So aside from attitude problem, there wasn't an overt argument.
There's been plenty of arguments, but I was just going to stay in my distance.
But nothing like what I'm hearing about when you came home.
Each day it was something that was brewing more and more.
So each day you were getting more and more annoyed.
No, I wasn't annoyed. She was annoyed. I just said I was going to stay my distance because I came to have a good time.
You felt it was the plaintiff whose actions were getting more aggressive, dominating.
Yes.
But you kept going to her room.
No.
Did you have meals together?
Only time we had a meal together I came over was on that Christmas day. She asked me to make the macaroni and tuna salad. I offered to make something else. She said, no, just make macaroni and tuna. We're doing the dinner because there was a lot of other people involved in the dinner. I came over. We all came over to have the Christmas dinner. The feeling was not very comfortable. It was not like I just ate and left.
Now, you came back from vacation, and I want you to get to December the 30th, which is what the first incident here we're talking about, which is when that occurred.
I left the trip on December the 28th.
Was that a planned departure date?
No.
What was your planned departure date?
Originally, I was going to leave on the 27th, but my daughter Anissa arrived on the 27th, so I said I'll give it one more night and stay with her. I was going back because I had to go back to work.
And when did you leave?
I left December the 30th.
So you were home a couple of days?
Yes.
Before plaintiff got home. I want you to tell me in your words, but I want it to be this level of discourse. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Not angry.
Yes.
Because life's too short. They both seem like nice people. Life's too short. It's so ridiculous to have this kind of behavior that I'm reading about from nice people with nice families. They plan vacations together. So why don't you keep it down? Tell me what happened on December the 30th.
December the 30th, they were already arrived. So everybody was home before me and my children arrived home. We didn't get home till about 5 o'clock that evening. We got out of our lift and we went into my home. We shut the door. I never seen none of these people outside or anything. Like if they were waiting for me and my children to go into the house. We went into the house, we shut our door. Maybe about 3 minutes later, I hear this banging on my door, which it was Anissa Thomas Young. She was the one banging on my door. I looked out the door, all of them were standing around with a group of people.
Stand up. You're Anissa?
Yes, I'm Anissa.
Anissa, tell me who you were with on December 30th.
December 30th, I was with my 2 sisters, my mom.
I wasn't there. I was at home.
Oh, yes, she was.
And what were you going to the plaintiff's house for?
I wasn't going to her house. I went home to my sister's house. They was already waiting for me.
And then what happened?
They were outside when I pulled up, and they started. Sakina, she was talking trash. It was her and her younger daughter. They were talking trash while I was... I'm sorry.
While I understand vaguely what that means, I would like you to tell me what was said, not talking trash. What was said? You come home and you see this young lady here, and who was she there with?
It was a bunch of them. Like, it was a lot of people from the trip.
Okay. And your neighbors. So there were people there from the trip, and describe what they were saying. I don't understand.
If I can go back, because I didn't come on the trip on the 23rd. I came the 27th.
I know that.
And when I came, it was a lot of tension between, like, they were just, I came in the room, I came in her room and I spoke to everybody, and like, I felt the energy that people really didn't want to speak to me, but I didn't pay it no mind. So December 29th, on the last night before the flight went out, me and my younger sister, we went to a mutual friend's room to play some cards. And we was playing spades, and we needed one more player. So I actually went to her daughter's room to see if her daughter wanted to come be my partner. And she was actually packing up to get ready to go back to Philly. That's when she came in the room, and she was mad about the comps that the hotel gave her in regards to the little girl drowning. She felt that she should have got more than a gift card. And she was talking about it, and then that's when she said, Anissa, I want to ask you something about the argument that aspired between Tasha and her.
Okay, I didn't know about that argument.
And before she even asked me the question, I said, I wasn't there, but from what I heard, you know, she shouldn't have said what she said because, like, that's rude, basically. And everyone in the room agreed with me except for her. She yelling. She was talking about my mom. She was just throwing, like, little shots, and I already knew where it was coming from. So her daughter was packing. She couldn't go play cards with me. So we just left. Me and my younger sister, we left. And we went to the mutual party's room to go finish playing cards. So like an hour go past, she calls the mutual party phone. Don't let them little girls be upstairs talking trash about me. Da-da-da-da. So I'm like, what did you talk about? And then 2 hours later, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, like we drinking, everybody hanging out, having a good time. These two come into the room. I couldn't understand nothing she was saying. She was belligerent, drunk, yelling at me, foaming out the mouth. Sakina, she gonna say, oh, I'm here because I heard she had my name in her mouth. She had my name in her mouth. And I'm confused, and I'm just like, where is all this even coming from? And she tried to fight me in the room. Security had to come.
Okay. So now I'm seeing that something not good happened in Florida.
Andrews and her cousin Shakina Hardrick have accused Crystal Young and her daughters of assaulting them and vandalizing their property.
So now I'm seeing that something not good happened in Florida, because now there's a fight in Florida, almost the last day that you're leaving.
It's actually the second one.
Like, probably like 8
Second
hours.
fight. Did they all occur in the evening?
This was like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Everybody have a glass of wine or two or a beer or something? I'm not saying anybody was drunk. I'm just saying, did everybody who was around have something to drink? Nothing. Are you saying you didn't have anything to drink?
No, I was I was in my room asleep.
You were sleeping?
Mm-hmm.
You've got an attitude. Did you have anything to drink?
Yeah, me and her mother and another party that was at the trip with us, we were coming from Applebee's.
Okay, so you had something to drink.
Yeah, we had dinner and we had a glass of wine at the Applebee's.
Or maybe two.
Maybe two.
Okay. You know what happens with one or maybe two, inhibitions kind of go out the window. What about your team?
I had left on the 28th. This happened on the 29th.
So you weren't there. Had you had anything to drink?
I was drinking with the party downstairs.
Okay, so the answer is yes.
Yes.
That's always a bad thing. You left.
I left on the 30th, but when that incident took place, I was not there because we had my younger sister. She's 10. I couldn't leave her in the room unsupervised, so I stayed with her that night.
No alcohol.
No alcohol. I was sleeping in the room with my 10-year-old sister.
Okay, so on the 30th, now you're back. Go ahead. Pick it up from there.
Your Honor, it's like so much missed out at the beginning because this young lady was sent down here to start with Shakina because the argument started with Tasha and Shakina. So she came at the last day of the trip. That's why she stayed an extra day till she came. So that part right there, they just totally made that whole thing up.
Well, why don't you stand up and have a seat. Why don't you stand up and let me try to sort out what it was that started this argument between the two of you.
So you want me to speak?
Yes.
Okay, so the incident took place between me and Shakina. Honestly, I'm keeping honest with you, was instigated because of Erica. Honestly, it was a small incident.
Just tell me what happened.
Okay, so all right, like I said, the incident with the child, it was a drowning, and you know the party.
You have to talk very slowly.
Okay, I talk fast. So it was an incident with the child, was a drowning. So everybody.
It was an incident. I didn't understand that.
It was an incident with a child, which was a drowning. And when that took place, nobody didn't really do nothing. Everybody on the trip was down and out. Once the little girl got to the hospital, that was like around Christmas Day. That's when everybody, we had like the dinner at Erica's house. So they took it upon themselves. They didn't tell us. Erica's very controlling, very bossy. She took it behind herself, mind you, on the Groupon app. I have Groupon in my phone. I could have paid $26 for my own ticket. She just did it behind herself, said, I booked this, and whatever. Everybody get Shakina her money. So I said, I have cash in my room. I'm just going to give it to her the cash in the morning. So I had the cash in my hand, and I just see Shakina and Erica coming out snapping on me. Where is Tasha at? She better have my money, blase. They just like literally like raising hell. So now I'm confused because like I said, we are like family. I'm like, I hope they ain't doing this over $26. Like you cannot be serious. So, you know what I'm talking about? And I'm like, you trying to call, say we're petty, we this and that third, but who's the petty ones to drag this on for $26? Let's keep that real. Who really, you dragging us to court, who really look bad? But
is that what she said that was nasty about you?
Yeah, I better have my money. They not playing with me.
Sit down. Got it. Sit down.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Did you say?
No, I did not say that.
What did you say?
I didn't really say anything. What she thought I said, what she heard I said, as I was coming out of my hotel room, Erica was not with me. I was walking with my aunt, who was on the trip with us, and my son, Samir. And she thought she heard me say, well, how are they at the bus? Because we had got transportation to take us to the events. She thought that she heard me say, how they at the bus before us, and they didn't even give me my money yet. So when I came downstairs, when I finally got down to the ground floor where they were standing there in front of the bus, Tasha was like, oh, Shakina, you said Tasha didn't give you my money. I never liked you anyway. She called me I've been wanting to beat you up for years. Mind you, me and her used to be best friends. We stopped being best friends 8 years ago when I got pregnant with my son. Because Tasha was high drama then, always in drama. And once I got pregnant with my son, I just had to change my life around so I couldn't be out in the street doing those types of things. So she's always been high drama. And I always felt like we had tension from the moment we stopped being friends 8 years ago. Even though we kept it civil, it was never no exchange of words when we seen each other, but I always felt like she had an underlying tension for me. But I always kept a respectful relationship between her mom and her sisters. So it shocked me when Anissa came down on the 29th and she came down stirring drama. Now, mind you, I'm in my room sleep, but she was in my cousin rooms that was adjacent to us, saying how I don't have no job and why I'm being petty over $26 and I better keep the same energy when I get back to Philly because it's going to be a one-on-one fight between me and her sister. Even prior to that...
Got it. I got it. Sit. No attitude?
No attitude.
Take a huge breath. So your son is about 8?
Yes, he would be 8 in April.
Does he ever give you attitude?
Oh, yes, he's a...
Yunta Chow is suing gun shop owner David Liu for the refund of a firearm.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Kevin.
Case number 1149, Chow versus Liu.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chow, what jurisdiction do you come from?
I don't understand.
What state do you come from?
Oh, California.
How long have you lived here?
I lived here all my life, 35 years.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm currently unemployed, but before that, I was in human resources.
For how long?
For 2 years.
Your complaint is a simple one. You felt, according to you, the need to have a firearm for protection.
That's correct.
Was this the first time you had felt the need for a firearm?
Yes, Your Honor. Especially during earlier this year and last year, due to Asian hate crimes, I felt like not safe to the point. I didn't know if they were going to rob me at my car or if they were going to burglarize my house. So I felt the need.
What kind of premises do you live in?
I live in an apartment complex.
Had you in the past been threatened?
No, only.
No.
No.
The defendant owns a gun shop.
Yes, Your Honor.
In California.
Correct.
How long have you owned that shop, Mr. Liu?
6 years.
Is it close by to where you live?
Correct.
You went to Mr. Liu's shop to purchase a gun. What kind of a gun did you want?
I tried to purchase a handgun, which is a 9mm.
You wanted a 9mm gun. Had you had any training with a gun? And you had never applied for a gun permit before?
Correct.
But according to what I read in your complaint, 13 years ago, while you were in your 20s,
correct,
early 20s, you had had either an arrest or a conviction for something. Was it gun-related?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever go to prison?
No, I wouldn't say prison. I went to another form of imprisonment. I forgot, it was like county. I'm not too sure. It was to the point where everyone that committed a crime was together in a grouping of a household.
Like a halfway house?
Somewhat like that.
Could you leave the house?
No, you only could leave to do your work premises that was supervised by the
off premises or
yes,
on
off premises.
Off premises.
Correct.
Okay. Was that part of your sentence? Was that your sentence?
No, that was just a part of just earning good time so I could be released early.
So you were never in prison?
Not in prison in that sense to the point where I was locked down 24/7 or anything of that nature, no.
Okay, and how long did you have to remain in that kind of facility?
I only stayed there close to 3 months, and then I was released.
Was it a drug-related crime?
No.
Since that time, 13 years ago, have you ever been arrested again?
No.
Was that the first time you had been arrested?
Correct.
So that was the first and only time you...
The first and only time as a young adult, yes. Prior to that, during my younger years, of course, I was hanging around the wrong crowd because I lived originally from Oakland, California. It's a really rough neighborhood during that time. I associated myself with the wrong crowd, which from there...
So you were arrested as a juvenile?
Yes, correct.
And this was the first arrest and conviction as an adult?
Correct.
What date did you go in to seek to purchase a weapon?
It was on May 21st of 2021.
And as part of that process, you have to fill out paperwork?
Yes.
Would you explain the paperwork process to me, Mr. Liu?
Okay, for California resident, if you need to buy a firearm, first of all, you have to take a firearm safety certificate test, which is...
Okay. Did he have that test?
Yes.
So you had a certificate to show him?
Correct.
So you had taken some training?
No, I took it that same very day because initially that's what he was part of the process of purchasing a firearm.
So where did you go to take the test?
At the same location, at his shop.
So you showed him how to use it and gave him the certificate?
I don't have to show him how to use the gun, but it's his responsibility to know how to use the firearm.
Well, what is the certificate is what I'm asking you.
The certificate contains 30 questions, including basic firearm laws.
No, do you have a copy of it?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have a copy of it? I'd like to see it. I'm learning something.
Something new every day.
Well, this is a dealer record of sale of firearm. What is the certificate we're talking about that he has to fill out?
The test come up with 30 questions, 10 true and false 20 multiple choice.
Well, I'd like to see the copy of the test.
I don't have the test, Your Honor, because he didn't ask me to refund him the test.
Just a second. Sarah, can you look up test for firearm, a certificate, and that's required by the state of California.
Firearm safety certificate.
Firearm safety certificate. Just curious what it looks like. So he filled out the form. He got the certificate from you. He filled out the form in front of you. And then you have to fill out another form.
After he took the test, he passed the test.
What kind of test did he have to pass?
The firearm safety certificate.
Did you study before you went?
No, I just had knowledge of just a firearm in general. It was just a lot of common sense questions that you have in regards to California law.
I have the test here.
Could I take a look at it, Sarah?
So this is a 50-page study guide for the test, and this is a self-test example of what the test is.
Thank you. You know I'm going to lose this whole thing.
No, you've got it. Just, it's touchscreen.
A safe practice when handling it. Let's turn to page 4. Know your target. As a safety measure, you should always be pointed to the north, to the safest spot, up and down. One of the safety rules to know is how to properly clear a malfunction. You turn to page 5.
So there's a bunch of lists of different topics that you should study for before the test. And then on this document, there's a few practice questions. The test would just be those few questions in the beginning. It would be, like he said, 20 multiple choice and 10 true false.
Thank you.
Chow claims gun shop owner David Liu owes him a refund after purchasing a gun he never received.
Okay, just curious, Mr. Chow. Did you fill out the answers to these questions?
Yes, I did.
Did the defendant help you?
No.
How long did it take you to fill out the form?
It took about maybe 20 minutes or so.
And after you filled out that form, then there is this
correct
document, because he has to be approved by the Department of Justice. Is that right?
Honor.
Okay. Well, this is the purchaser's record of sale of firearm, and it says, has the purchaser ever been convicted of a felony or an offense as defined in the Penal Code in the last 10 years? Based upon Mr. Chow, his conviction was 13 years ago. Is that right? So he answered the question, no. And you purchased the gun.
Correct.
But you did not give him the gun until after you got an approval from the Department of Justice.
Correct.
And so that was May 21st.
Correct.
How long did Mr. Liu, based upon your business of experience of 6 years, does it usually take to hear back from the Department of Justice?
Usually it would take about 2 to 4 days, depends on how busy they are, to get back to me.
Okay. And this
Only
is
when they get denied, reject, or some other reason. Otherwise, after 10 days, the owner can come and pick up the firearm. So you have at least 10 days for the Department of Justice to do the background check.
Okay.
Yep. And during the pandemic, sometimes delayed it to 14 days.
Of course.
But if the purchaser is denied, reject, or something, usually that will come electronically, much faster.
In Mr. Chow's case, did you receive notification from the Department of Justice?
Yes.
Okay. He came and he paid you for the gun. How much did you pay him for the gun?
I paid with tax and other fees. In total, it will be $1,370. I have the invoice here as well, too.
Okay. He doesn't dispute the amount. And when you heard back from the Department of Justice, on what date did you hear from the Department of Justice?
I got the notice on May 28th.
And do you have a copy of that notice?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please.
And this is the electronic version, and also the denied.
Thank you. Okay, so you were advised on the 28th, a week later, that the Department of Justice had said, do not release the firearm to the purchaser.
Correct.
When did you notify the plaintiff?
On the same day. I sent him a text message.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you ask why?
No, I just essentially went directly to a refund from that point on. I didn't ask why as of yet.
Okay, so from the May 28th on, you knew that you could not release the firearm that you were holding for the plaintiff, for which you were paid $1,370.
Correct.
If we were to examine your record, sir, how many weapons did you sell that week?
Really depends.
No. if we were to examine your records from the 25th, 26th, 27th, those 3 days, how many guns would you say you sold? How many a day do you sell?
Well, during the pandemic, it's crazy. I can sell maybe 20 guns a day.
And you hold them?
Correct.
Until you get notification?
Correct.
Now, this is the case. You were denied for that. You will have to take that up with the Department of Justice, if you wish. Your case is simple. You have the gun. You know you can't sell it to him. And you have his $1,370. Now, I would like you to explain to me, sir, why you think he's not entitled to his $1,370 back. And explain to this face, very slowly, why somebody who has been in business thinks that for holding on to this gun for 5 days, when he did not lie in his application, because according to this, his conviction was 13 years ago. So unless you have information to the contrary, which I will see, because certainly if he lied on the application, I might feel a little bit sympathetic if you said I could have sold the gun 10 times over, but I held it because he lied on the application. So first, do you have any evidence that he lied on this application? That's either a yes or a no. That's not a well. Yes. What is that evidence?
Because on the FSC, the Firearm Safety Certificate test, there's one question. In California, if you're convicted with a felony, it's for life that you cannot have firearm.
Oh. See if you can find that. But that's not the application that you sent to the Department of Justice.
Yes, and also there's a form he has to fill out for their...
just a second, but he wasn't denied from the state of California.
He also filled out the form 4473 for the federal government.
Can I see it?
And there's the same question he say no.
May I see it? This is from the U.S. Department of Justice. Did you fill this out, sir?
I think I did. I'm not too sure because I did not receive a copy. The only copy I received was that...
Well, it looks like you filled it out. This is a sort of ambiguous question. It says, have you ever been convicted in any court, including a military court, of a felony or any other crime for which the judge could have imprisoned you for more than 1 year, even if you received a shorter sentence, including probation?
So it is unlawful for any person who's been convicted of or has an outstanding warrant for any felony, as well as there's a list of specific misdemeanors that also prohibit the ownership of a firearm.
Okay. So what your statement is, this application was accurate, and what you indicate is that this application, which goes to the U.S. Department of Justice, he said he had not been, when in fact he had been.
Yes.
Okay. So, Kevin, would you show this to the plaintiff, please? It looks as if, sir, you filled that out.
Okay.
And it's signed by you. I verified the signature.
No, I did mark a no on that.
Okay, got it. Now, sir, so now he marked a no when he should have written a yes for something that happened 13 years ago, for which he was not really in a prison, according to him, sort of a halfway residence where he was able to leave, go to work, outside work, and then come back. And he spent 3 months there. According to him, you have no information to the contrary. And for the last 13 years, he has not had any subsequent convictions. Now you have to explain to me why you think he is not entitled to most, if not all, of his money back.
Okay, because in my shop, there are numerous people with felony or something, and they will try and come to buy firearm. That's why in all our contract, not only in the small print, also in the red print, we explain to them if they get denied in any way, there's no refund.
May I see it, please?
And also at the store, we have signs everywhere to tell people that...
Now, I want to see the... Okay. I'm not interested in the signs. I'm interested in something that he signed.
This is just one way
just a second. Okay. This just says there will be no refund. It doesn't say if you're denied because of something.
No refund in any way.
It says no refund in any way. It says firearm has to pay in full. And then there's a crossing out. Upon any cancellation, deny, or revoke, there will be a 30% restocking fee. But that's crossed out.
Yes, because during the pandemic, all the guns are special ordered. They were so limited, we can't get any gun in.
Oh, yeah. Firearm has to be paid in full.
That's why we have the red print.
And it's crossed out the cross out upon any cancellation, deny, or revoke, there will be a 30% restocking fee. That's crossed out.
That's crossed out
But
before he signed
all
it.
firearms are special order. Well, that's not particularly so in this case. It was not a special order. You had it in the shop.
It was a special order, Your
No,
Honor.
no.
Chow has accused gun shop owner David Liu of refusing to refund him for a gun he never received.
Okay. Did you come back more than once, sir?
No.
Okay. So that the gun that he showed you, he had in the store.
Correct. He had.
And that is the gun that you purchased.
That is correct.
And that is the gun that you paid for. Did you ask him to modify the gun in any way?
No, I did not.
Did you modify the gun?
No, we
in
cannot
any-
do that.
Hmm?
We cannot do that.
Okay, so the gun that you showed Mr. Chow was the gun that he selected. It was not modified in any way. You were holding it pending receipt of this. This came back. He could not purchase the gun. At most, if you hadn't crossed out this section, you would have been entitled to a 30% restocking fee for the gun, but you crossed it out. It's crossed out of your contract. So, Mr. Liu, he's entitled to his money back. Did you resell the gun? I want you to think very carefully. It's got a serial number on it.
Yes.
Just a second. It's got a serial number on it, so it's easy to check.
Yes, I'm being
Did you
very honest to you.
Of
Yes.
course. Did you resell the gun?
Yes.
Yes. And how much did you resell the gun for?
I have to check because the prices was vary because during the
Okay,
pandemic.
just a second. So it was up and down.
Yes.
Some people paid a little more and some people paid a little less. So you actually got paid twice for this gun.
Yes.
How much did you pay for the gun?
With add on everything.
No, don't add on anything. Just tell me, how much did you pay for the gun? Your cost?
Your Honor, because the gun during the pandemic is so different.
No, I just asked you, sir.
Make
I
me to buy
asked-
other things to go with the gun.
No,
so it's-
listen to me.
Yes.
Mr. Liu, I'm a very simple girl, born and raised in Brooklyn, and I'm really not good in math. It's a gene, this math gene is a gene, unfortunately, that I passed on to my children, and they passed on to their children. So I want to ask you a question that's very simple. You sold him this gun for $13.70. You sold it again for around the same price. Let's say you sold it for $1,200. So now we have $2,500 that you have for this gun. I want to know how much you paid for it. You don't have to give me the exact amount.
I paid
Sarah
close
could
to
look it up.
$600. I paid close to $600.
Close to $6.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty substantial amount of profit that you made on that one gun. Even if you sold it to somebody else for $1,200, you would have had a pretty substantial profit on that gun. So you're going to give Mr. Chow his money back because he deserves it back. And you resold the gun and you had no damages from the fact that none whatsoever. It's not as if you got stuck with the gun. And the contract can actually be interpreted in his favor. And I think a reasonable person, and that would be me, because I'm a very reasonable person. Am I a reasonable person, Whitney? Very reasonable. See, Whitney thinks I'm a reasonable person. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,370. We're finished. Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
If there's a convicted felon, he should never even step into a gun shop.
I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. My friend called me up to go pick him up, and because of that, I was convicted.
And he went to a gun shop, tried to buy a gun.
I didn't do research till after I was denied a refund. That's when I actually went through the extensive search of like the history of owning a firearm.
And I'm surprised he will come to gun shop and try to buy a gun.
I'm ecstatic actually for the judgment.
So I actually disagree with you on that last one. I think that people really have to read the contracts that they're signing, and they are bound by those written contracts. And I understand that you interpreted it in a certain way, and that's how you made your decision to give him his refund. But I think that if courts continue to do that and continue to bail people out after they don't read things that they're signing that have legal significance, I think the courts are going to be bogged down with people looking for refunds when they signed something that they were bound by, saying they don't get one.
Okay, it's a perspective. I felt comfortable with giving him his money back because there was a condition precedent upon which he could take possession of the gun. And the condition precedent was approval by the Department of Justice. He couldn't actually take possession of the property. Now, I can understand that if you got possession of the gun, you took it home, you said, you know what, this is too hard. I tried to shoot it, I couldn't shoot it. I want to take it back. Well, I can understand that. No refund. You know, it's like wearing a dress and putting the tag inside, which I've never done, and then bringing it back the next day. But I know people who do that, so that's why it says no refunds. But in this case, the condition precedent, which was getting approval, could not be realized. And I don't think it was through any
fault of the plaintiff. Because that section that discussed a felony where you could have been in prison for more than 1 year, well, you don't remember if you've been convicted of one felony as an adult in your whole life, whether a judge could have sentenced you for more than a year, but sentenced you to only 3 months in a different kind of facility, in a halfway house. So I don't...
Michael Martinez is suing his daughter's former roommate, 20-year-old Sophia Violich, for unpaid rent after breaking a lease agreement.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 1051, Martinez versus Violich.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Martinez, you're a co-signer.
Yes, ma'am.
That's always a problem.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your daughter.
Yes.
What college does she go to?
Chapman University,
Where is that?
City of Orange, California.
And where do you live?
I live in Santa Cruz, California.
How far away?
It's about 350 miles north of here.
What year is she in?
She is entering her junior year.
So was it last year that she leased the apartment with some friends?
Yes.
What month was that?
It was October?
September.
Oh, September, sorry.
September of 2020.
Yes.
Why don't you come up and stand with your dad? Tell me your first name.
Haley.
Were you in school virtually most of last year?
Yeah, pretty much all of last year was online.
What month did you leave?
Leave.
School. You were in school in September.
Right. Well, we got sent home in March of 2020, and then I moved back down to Orange, hoping that we'd be in person, but it remained online.
So your lease went from September of 2020 until August 31st of 2021?
June 26th of 2021.
How many roommates did you have, Haley?
I had 3 other roommates. Me and 1 other roommate stayed through the lease, and then 2 of the roommates left.
So you stayed through the lease, but went to school virtually?
Right.
And 2 went home?
Yeah, but in around January, they went home.
Tell me your first name.
Sophia?
Sophia, you were one of the roommates.
Yes.
When did you leave?
I left around December 20th.
And what was your share of the rent?
It was about $640.
Your share?
Yes.
Must have been a nice place.
Yeah, it was a nice place.
Okay. And how old were you when you moved in?
19, sorry.
And you also signed the lease?
Yes.
After December, did you pay the lease?
Yes, up until January.
January what?
I paid January's rent.
You did pay January's rent. Okay. You didn't pay February? Is that correct?
Yes.
March?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
And the lease was up in June?
The end of June, yes.
Or June?
July 1st, yes.
But you didn't pay for those 5 months?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you understood that you signed a lease?
Yes.
And that the plaintiff, Mr. Martinez, paid all the rent. Did the other roommates, there were 2 other roommates, did they pay their share of the rent?
One of the other roommates who stayed with Haley for the rest of the remainder of the lease paid on time every month. And the other roommate left with her at the same time.
Did she pay?
No. She stopped paying at the same, she paid through January and stopped paying in February.
Is there any reason why you didn't sue her?
We have a case against her, yes.
You do?
Yes.
Pending?
On Monday, we have our court date, yes.
Great. Okay. Sophia, ball is in your court. You're a grown-up, you're an adult, you signed a lease, he co-signed the lease, he paid the lease in full. I assume you are employed, sir?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a union electrician.
He gets paid a salary, didn't want his salary garnished or his credit ruined, so he paid the lease. You have to give me a convincing reason why you're not responsible for the remainder of the lease.
So I have
Don't look over there. Look over here.
So I have an immune disorder, type 1 diabetes, and in October, the other roommate that shared a room with Haley got COVID.
Okay, just 1 second. Did you get COVID?
No.
No. Who got COVID?
The other roommate.
Okay. And
and I really did not feel safe being in that apartment. And then also...
Just a second. So you left in October?
End of October, yes.
That's not true.
Shh, don't. You left the end of October, but then you came back.
Yes.
When did you come back?
I left around October 15th, and then I came back for a week, and then I left again in November 4th, and then I didn't come back until Christmas time for a week.
What was all the back and forth?
I didn't feel safe in the apartment also for
Well, then why did you come back at all?
All my things were there.
That takes an hour.
Yeah.
Where did you go when you left?
Back home to Santa Cruz.
Who did you stay with?
My parents.
All the time?
Yes.
So each time you went back, you stayed with your parents?
Yes.
Christmas time, was there school?
Yes.
Virtually?
Yes.
What date did you move out?
I put everything in my car and moved all my things out December 20th, besides the beds that we were going to give to someone if they ended up moving in.
Okay, so you moved out. I still haven't heard a reason other than the general, I didn't feel safe.
The other reasons are Haley took part in doing cocaine in the apartment, and I did not feel safe being around illegal drug use, as I don't partake in that things.
Okay, and when do you allege, at least, that Haley used an illegal substance in the house?
Like every weekend.
Every weekend since when?
Since we moved in at September 4th.
Okay, well, you stayed there September, October, November, and December. And if you say that this illegal drug use was going on for 4 months, why didn't you notify her father and say, I'm moving out because there's drug use in the house? Instead, you stayed.
I notified.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's true. I'm not even going into it. I'm just saying, why didn't you just leave? And you did come back Christmas time and stayed for several weeks.
To pack up my things, yes.
It doesn't take several weeks to pack up your things. It takes you and your parents an hour to pack up your things if you're complaining that there's an unsafe condition.
It's just an excuse, Your Honor, for her.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, an excuse. So, yeah, I did take that long to get my things. I did bring it upon Heidi Martinez, Michael Martinez's wife, and she told me I was
No, don't tell me what she told you. When did you speak to Mrs. Martinez?
It was back and forth in I'm not sure on the dates, but...
You spoke to her on the phone?
October, the phone and over text message.
I'd like to see the text messages.
No, I got it.
These messages are from January.
I'm sorry, they may be.
Well, the message is from January and were after you moved out. And you spoke to her mother and, hey, Heidi, it would be much appreciated and a big weight off everyone's shoulders if you would give this nice lady and her boyfriend that I've been talking to about me and room. They seem reliable and both have full-time jobs. It's definitely hard times for everyone right now with COVID. So finding a roommate is extra tricky, but this match makes sense. It's irrational to be picky finding a roommate when we have one who can move in now. The bottom line is I cannot live in that apartment due to COVID risks. The drug use in our apartment that I do not feel comfortable being around. The Family Housing Act does protect me from these issues. I wish Haley and you the best, so please let me know you find a solution to the housemate this month. Thank you for the text, but let's be clear about a few things. First, after talking with the girls, they don't feel comfortable with living with a male, especially one that's 5 years older. Well, that's nothing. A male that's 5 years older than you are is probably 10 years your junior. Second, if you want to sling insults about the girls, I'm sure your parents would love to hear all about the Tinder boys and sugar daddies that you brought back to the apartment, or that you and are responsible for all the alcohol in the apartment. Mental health is serious, and Haley has called me almost every day super stressed about the roommate situation since September. One of the roommates getting COVID sucked. Haley had to come home too, but that was in October. If you were so worried, you should have let someone know. This is the first I'm hearing of this. I do agree on one thing. We need to have this resolved ASAP. So this is my question. After reading I gather that you are claiming or claim to your mother that the defendant brought men back to the apartment.
Yes.
Yes.
How old?
I was not there when it happened. When my other roommate.
Well, then you can't tell me about it.
Can I?
Then you can't tell me about it if you didn't see it or discuss it with her.
She came home because of COVID. She stayed even though the other roommate was positive in COVID. And so her excuse of not wanting to leave because of COVID, she stayed there with the other roommate.
Yeah, well, here's just a second. Alcohol is not illegal. Cocaine is illegal. Do you understand?
Oh, of course.
There were other people in the apartment also using.
That doesn't make it better. Unless what you're telling me, that doesn't make it better, Haley. Unless what you're telling me is that, and I'm not sure I believe that with her condition, that she was using.
No, I was not saying she was.
Okay. That in and of itself would be sufficient basis for her to leave the apartment. You understand that, Mr. Martinez?
Provided it was true, yes.
Your daughter just told me it was true.
No, she never.
Shh.
No, she
No. Your daughter just told me it was true. Mr. Martinez, your daughter, who was there, just told me it was true. Yeah. She said other people were using too.
Yes,
in the apartment.
I understand that.
But not the defendant. That in and of itself, without anything else, would be reason enough for her to move. Do you understand that? Because if the police raided that apartment, anyone in that apartment would be arrested. Not if they found Jack Daniels or 5 feathers or 3 tails or whatever it is, but they would be arrested for hard drugs.
Michael Martinez and his 20-year-old daughter Haley claim her former roommate, 20-year-old Sophia Violich, broke their lease and owes for unpaid rent.
Okay. The second thing that I don't understand is if she says she's moving, and she says she's moving for a reason that is a legal reason, which is drug use, which your daughter just acknowledged, Mr. Martinez, and she found another roommate to take over their lease, her lease, did you interview those people?
They never.
You're not on the lease. Did you interview those people?
No, she never gave the information to anybody.
Well, no, she gave it to your wife.
Not the contact number.
Just
she
a
just
second.
said she had these people.
Listen to me.
I'm listening.
Your wife said Haley is not comfortable living with a male 5 years older than she is. How old are you?
I'm 20.
And what I said to you, a 25-year-old male is like a 14-year-old. So, I mean, I could understand it if she brought in a man who was 65 living with a bunch of young girls and said, this is who I have, and, you know. So he's got a little history, and he had to be relocated from his last site. I could understand that. But this was a couple, a young couple, who they found. It's not that she didn't provide their information. Your wife said, we're not interested in that because Haley isn't comfortable. So for those 2 reasons, sir, your case is dismissed against her. I would be curious to find out what happens with your case against the other girl. I don't know what the other girl's situation is with regard to the drug use. If she was involved in that, might be different. But that in and of itself is sufficient basis for her to leave. And that's unfortunate. And for that, you should have a discussion with your daughter.
I've already talked to my daughter about everything.
Okay, good. We're done here. Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
She's lying about half the stuff she said.
Haley was using lots of drugs. I didn't feel comfortable being around.
I am a college student, I admit that, but to say I was doing it every single weekend is absurd to me.
Just a bunch of losers, basically.
She's a straight A student in a private college, and she's a great kid.
Will not be sharing a room with strangers.
One thing I am hung up a little on that case is the defendant who claimed that she was nervous about COVID due to an underlying health condition. Why return to a college town when school is not in session in person? The only positive I see of that is a social life. And if you're so cautious and so nervous about catching COVID, I don't see any reason why she even returned to an apartment with friends.
Yeah, it's a solid point. However, what the law says is that if you are providing a situation where someone who was innocent of any wrongdoing in this situation, drugs it's like having illegal guns in an apartment. Everybody is presumed to be in possession of an illegal drug. So that in and of itself is a reason legally for her to extricate herself from a situation where she could be arrested. And the second thing is, that being the case, you're supposed to try to mitigate damages. They found another couple to take over the room and take over their portion of the rent. The plaintiff wouldn't even interview them. And clearly Haley was comfortable in a situation where she was living in an apartment with illegal drugs. At least interview a guy who's 25. You may like him. Anyway, legally, she can't be held responsible.
Case number 1012, Norris versus Lathan Bowman. Please step forward.
Naomi Norris is suing her ex-boyfriend, Joseph Bowman, and his current girlfriend, Brooke Lathan, for damages to her car.
This used to be your boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long were the two of you involved?
Just under 10 years.
And when did the two of you separate?
Approximately February of this year.
And how long have you been involved with Mr. Bowman?
Since about February this year.
So about the same time. You don't waste any time, sir. Ms. Norris, it is your claim that the defendant, Ms. Latham, damaged your property.
Yes, ma'am.
And that property would be your car.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendants say that nothing could be farther from the truth, that you filed a false restraining order against them, that you've been stalking and harassing them, and that it was actually you who were guilty of vandalizing their property. So tell me, Ms. Norris, on what date did this incident take place?
April 20th of this year.
And I gather that the breakup with Mr. Bowman was an acrimonious one.
To say the least, yeah.
And I assume not primarily of your choosing.
Correct.
Okay. Tell me the time of this incident. The date was the 20th of April.
It was a little after midnight.
Okay. Now, what I gather is, am I correct that he had some sort of a lawsuit that you somehow were involved in?
It's a criminal case.
Who's the defendant in that case?
He is.
And that case has been pending for a while?
Over a year.
So it was pending at the time that you and Miss Norris were together?
Yes.
Okay. You had the necessity to talk to him about this case late at night, and he wasn't sort of responding. You reached out to him somehow? By text, by phone?
Text, emails, phone.
Text, phone, and he wasn't responding.
Right.
And now it's 11 o'clock at night, and you tried to text him. Mm-hmm. You knew he was with this lady. That was clear. And somehow you saw his car.
Right.
So what did you do?
Well, earlier in the day, he knew that I was wanting to speak with him about this.
But he ignored you.
Correct.
Miss Norris, you should have given up the ghost by April.
Well, I ended up being subpoenaed for that case, so it's still I'm kind of stuck with it for a bit.
Well, meanwhile, you saw his car parked in the street. You had tried to get in touch with him that day several times, and he ignored you. And what did you do?
I turned it in, parked behind him, right directly behind his truck. I didn't know whether he was or wasn't in it.
You parked directly behind his truck, and
either called or text.
I assume you have the text with you.
My battery. I didn't have a charger with me today, so I don't have that available at the moment.
Well, so far you're not batting 1,000 with me, Miss Norris. Okay, what happened next?
Miss Lathan came out of the house a few doors down, got in her vehicle, and came over to where I was parked. It wasn't exactly a hit, but her vehicle touched the side of my vehicle. She got out, jumped on my hood, and dented it and smashed the windshield.
You remember that evening?
I wasn't even in Chico when this supposedly happened.
Where were you?
I was up at my dad's cabin in Lake Elminor.
Where was he?
He was in Chico.
Was he staying at your house?
No, but he came by to grab some stuff of mine because I stay with him at his mom's house in Chico.
Did the police ever question you about this incident?
No.
Did you report it to the police?
Yes, ma'am.
On what date?
On the 20th.
I'd like to see the police report. Did you call the police while she was jumping on the hood of your car?
No, I did not. It was directly afterwards.
It was directly afterwards?
Yes.
I'm just noting in the police report, it says, can hear a female yelling at someone, but it couldn't have been her because you didn't have your phone on at the time. So I'm just trying to figure out who that is.
That's me yelling at Mr. Bowman.
So you're yelling at Mr. Bowman?
Yes. He prevented me from...
Naomi Norris says defendants Joseph Bowman and Brooke Lathan are responsible for damaging her vehicle. They are countersuing Naomi for property damage and harassment.
Okay. Do you have photographs of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them.
These are my photos at that night, and this is the insurance adjusters.
How did she break the windshield of your car?
With her hands.
Do you have an estimate for the damage to the car? You had insurance? You had a deductible?
Yes, and that is...
I have a $2,500 deductible.
Yes.
I got it. Did you see her that evening?
No.
No. This is all sort of a figment of her imagination. The truth of the matter is, nobody purposely breaks their windshield of their car, because that puts it out of commission. You have a counterclaim. Miss Norris, were you arrested for possession of Mr. Bowman's gun?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you come into possession of his gun?
In referencing the case, he has a restraining order, no contact order from that case, which means that he's not allowed to have the gun. I found the gun.
Where did you find it?
Inside the clippings bag of his mother's lawnmower.
Just a second. What were you doing looking at it there?
I was looking for it because he has been ordered to return, or to...
You went to his mother's house?
Well, yes, I was there all the time. Like, I was still involved with him being over there.
In what month did you find the gun? What month?
In April.
Well, you had broken up with him.
Yes, but...
So what were you doing in his mother's house?
She was still allowing me and my kids to come by.
That's ridiculous. And to go through the lawn clipping bag? Did you move his car at any time after February 2021?
Yes.
Where did you move it from?
The middle of the parking lot at a Walgreens. It was not in a parking space. It was in the parking lot.
And where did you move his car to?
Our storage unit.
What did you do that for?
Because it was sitting in the middle of the parking lot. It was not in a parking space.
Just a second. Is that his car?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what were you doing touching his car after you broke up?
I had told him, informed him that earlier that day that I moved his vehicle because it was in the middle of the parking lot.
Yeah, you have to stay away from him.
Well, that's happened since then, yes.
Yeah, you have to stay away from him. Did you file a restraining order against him?
Not against him, no.
Against whom?
Miss Lathan.
Was it dismissed?
Yes, it was.
Did you have a trial?
We did have a court date. I was late.
So the answer is you filed for a restraining order and didn't show up. So it was dismissed for your non-appearance. Did you, in fact, take control of his password and lock him out of his email accounts at any time?
It was the business account that my name is attached to.
In what month did you lock him out of the business account?
It was the end of February.
Did you advise him that you were locking him out?
Yes. And then within a week, he had all the information to get back into that account.
Okay.
Can I say something real quick, too, about all the other things that we've been talking about? You asked, like, why would someone break their own windshield? Why would someone steal someone's truck, have it towed to a storage unit, change the lock so he can't get to it, ride all over the truck, pee in his truck?
Just a second. Did that happen?
No.
Miss Norris?
No.
It did not?
No, it did not.
Did you, in fact, urinate in his truck?
No, I did
at the time?
not.
Okay. Do you have any proof of that?
Yes, we do.
I'd like to see it.
Here's a receipt for my new seats.
Okay. So you replaced the seats? Yeah. Miss Norris, you got to get over it.
Oh, I am.
Do you understand?
Oh, I am.
You got to get over it. Have you had any difficulty with her since?
No, Your Honor.
Miss Norris, I'm dismissing your claim on the car. And
I actually have physical proof of her. Yeah, those are her shoe prints on there.
I don't think so, because I'm taking your own words. You, after the breakup, after he and Miss Lathan were involved, moved his truck without his permission and without notifying him at all, and if you did it all, until later.
I did.
Number one. Number two, you did purposefully. You locked him out of his own business without forewarning him. I'm using your words.
Yes, I also.
Now I'm taking their word for the fact that when you, in fact, moved his truck from one place to another, you urinated on the seats of that car. I'm taking their word for that.
No,
you moved his truck to harass him. You cut him out of his own email business account to harass him. According to you, you serendipitously wanted to speak to him. He tried to ignore you. You went purposefully to find his car 11, 12 o'clock at night. Miss Norris, what I'm saying to you is, I think that you took the breakup very hard, understandably, it was 10 years, but your behavior from your own mouth suggests to me that they wanted to be left alone, and you couldn't leave them alone. So I'm awarding them $2,500 on their countersuit. Your petition is dismissed. Thanks, Cole. We're done.
Okay, Your Honor.
Court adjourned.
I was being accused of things I didn't do, and I'm glad she saw the truth.
I did not press criminal charges.
All the drama stops.
Him not responding or acknowledging those text messages is not my problem.
I'm just hoping that she calms down now and realizes, like, stuff's done and she needs to move on.
I have found peace and move on, and I will probably pursue the rest of my legal bounds with this.
Sometimes after a few of these cases, I'm just at a loss for words.
Well, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
That's true.
And sometimes women, in my experience more often than men, the ones that I've seen, take these breakups really hard. I mean, she had a 10-year investment in this guy, and then he meets somebody else. Clearly she wasn't ready to let it go without at least leaving her imprint on their behinds. Sad. It's sad. If it's over, it's over. Just have to accept it. Women have to stay smart.
True.
Is suing her former employer, Robert Erdman, for medical costs and lost wages after being attacked by his rooster.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 1170, Thomas versus Erdman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Thomas, your son was renting a room in the defendant's home.
Correct.
You have a home that has how many bedrooms?
3. I'm renting it, ma'am.
How long have you been renting the house?
I'm no longer there. I rented it from May until October 1st.
May of this year until October?
May of last year, so it'd be
May 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
Just for curiosity, why did you move out?
I came originally to San Diego before COVID to spend a few weeks before I moved to the UK. And because of COVID, I had to rent a house. So because I couldn't leave, we were all in lockdown.
Right. So you rented the house.
Yes.
Did you sign a lease?
Yes.
Did the lease permit you to rent out rooms in the house?
Yes.
It did. I want you to think very carefully. Did the lease permit you to rent out rooms? It's a private dwelling.
The answer is I'm not sure.
That's a better answer. And what was the rent?
$4,850.
How many tenants did you have?
A tenant, I'm sorry. I had a roommate. To my knowledge, I would call it a roommate.
How many roommates did you have?
1.
How many people lived in the house?
2. Myself and the roommate.
Which roommate?
At the time of this incident, it would be Mr. Santoyo.
The property contains a house and some property that allows you to have chickens and a rooster.
Yes.
Where did you get the chickens and the rooster from?
From the Vista Feed Store in Vista, California.
Were they young when you got them?
Yes, they're 3 days old.
Got one rooster?
The crux of the matter is that when you get chicks, you do not know the sex of them, so it becomes problematic later. And some people don't get roosters at all.
You got one rooster?
Yes.
How many chicks?
There were 6.
So you have 5 hens?
Yes. They're no longer in my possession. They're in Valley Center.
What's Valley Center?
It's a place near outside San Diego where chickens are legal. The problem is that roosters, after I received a letter in the 15th of January, I've discovered that roosters were not legal.
Where you lived?
Correct.
Okay. So this is what the case is about. Now I have a little bit of the background, what you were doing there. Your son was living with him as a tenant. You're paying $800 a month rent, and the defendant learned that you did house cleaning.
Yes.
That was your company, and you just...
A small company.
And you started to clean the premises.
Correct.
Where your son also lived.
Yes.
And it is your claim that the rooster that was there was an aggressive rooster and attacked you on 2 separate occasions during the time you were cleaning, and you want to be compensated to the tune of $7,000. Okay, so we have certain givens. We have a given that you were cleaning there, given.
There was an offer made to clean.
And she did.
Yes.
And you did pay her.
Yes, but it was, if I may, it was my decision to pay her. At first she offered to do it for...
Whatever, you paid her.
Yes.
It was a service that she was offering.
Correct.
How much did you pay her?
$100 the first time.
How many times did you clean the house?
I cleaned this home from October 17, 2020 till December the 11th,
2020.
I'm going to ask
About
you
6
again.
times.
How many times did you go to his house to clean his house?
In that time spent 6 times.
And how much did he pay you each time you went?
Between $40 and $60. I never got paid $100.
Between 40 and 60 a day. And I assume you visited your son there, so you knew that Mr. Erdman had a rooster and chickens.
That's correct.
And of the 6 times, you only had a problem, according to your papers, with the rooster on 2 occasions.
That's correct.
The first occasion was in October.
No, December the 8th.
12/8.
Yes.
Okay. On 12/8, describe what happened with the rooster.
I went outside to take the trash out.
What
to the
time?
alley. I would say around 10:45 a.m.
What time had you arrived that day? Do you recall?
9 a.m.
So you went outside to take the garbage out.
Yes.
And
Mr. Erdman was standing to my left by the coop, petting his hens, and the hens were in the coop, and the rooster was in the coop. And as I was coming back from the alley, I was walking on the walkway, and I don't know how it happened. All of a sudden, the rooster just came up. Actually, it's as huge as a turkey, 30 pounds. Came up, came at me, scratched me, and I had enough time just to put my arm out so it wouldn't
oh,
hit
it
in my
scratched
face.
your arm.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a picture of your arm?
Yes. That is just the first time.
Just a second. I'm just taking a look. I want to see. Okay. Okay, so it scratched you with a claw.
Yeah, with the claws.
It scratched you with a claw. This
Yes.
scratch. Okay. You didn't seek medical attention for this? It's a
Not for
scratch.
this, no.
It's a scratch.
Yes.
Okay. Want to see the scratch?
I can see him here, thank
It's
you.
a scratch. Okay. So that's October 8th. Next.
The next injury was December the 11th.
Now, between the 8th and the 11th, had you been back to the house?
Yes, on the 10th for my regular cleaning service.
Anything happened on the 10th?
No. Everything went fine.
Just a second. So on the 10th, you were there and everything was fine. Do you remember getting paid on the 10th?
Yes.
How much did you get paid on the 10th?
$40.
And you put some peroxide on this thing,
Correct.
or you put something on and it went away?
Yes, Neosporin.
Okay. Now tell me what happened on the 11th.
The 11th, I came to Mr. Erdman's home at 9 a.m. He was highly upset.
Just a second. Highly upset is a conclusion. What did he say to you and what did you say to him?
I rang the doorbell. He opened the door. I asked him why the boxes and things from the front room was not picked up, because the day before I didn't have time to clean the floor.
Just a second. He opened the door and you said to him,
"Good morning."
And?
I came in and I looked around and I asked him, "Robert, you didn't pick up the things that we agreed on the day before."
Okay, explain that to me. You had had a discussion the day before about picking up what?
I was supposed to do the wood flooring. He's a very renowned photographer, so he had boxes, pictures, papers, business papers, all stacked up. And in order for me to do the floor, he had told me the day before that he would clear everything out.
Clear everything out. So you walked in and you said, "Robert, you didn't clean up so that I could do the floor."
Yes.
And he said to you?
He said, "I don't want to discuss the floor. I want to discuss Jose. Where's Jose? He hasn't been here 3 nights, and I'm tired of him not coming home at night." And
Just a second. So he said to you, "I don't want to discuss the floor. I want to discuss your son."
Yes.
He hasn't been home for 3 nights.
Yes.
And what did you say to him?
He said, "I feel that he should be more active, be more of a friend in the home, to be here in the evenings." And I told him, "I'm not in charge of my son. I mean, he's 39 years old, and there is nothing I can do to influence him to be home at night." And the conversation continued with me. I told him, "I don't want to continue this conversation. I will finish the windows." And
I'll leave.
And the conversation was kind of done for me. I proceeded to prepare.
Okay. What happened next?
Judy Thomas claims her former employer, Robert Erdman, owes for medical costs and lost wages resulting from 2 rooster attacks.
Now, what happened next?
As I was doing the windows, everything was fine. Mr. Erdman went out to his coop. I was doing the bay windows in the inside and proceeded to the French doors. And as I finished the inside, I went to the kitchen sink, which is facing, I guess, east. And the French doors are this way, so I couldn't see behind me. So I was changing the water. And while I was changing the water, Mr. Erdman, I presume he came in, or I'm thinking he came in while I was standing, because when I turned around with the bucket, I went this way.
went towards the French doors and looked down, and there was this ill hen in a...
A what?
He had a sick hen that was dying, so he had it in a little basket and a blanket, and he put it right in front. These are the windows right in front of the door. So when I went out, I turned around. Here's my bucket, and I'm looking at this hen, and I'm thinking...
You turned around, you saw a hen you hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And?
And I'm doing the window, so I'm turning around thinking, where is this rooster? And as I'm turning around, the rooster comes this way from the hen, claws me, and I'm up like this. I hit it down, otherwise it would have been clawed more.
No. Don't tell me what otherwise. Oh. So the rooster clawed you again?
Yes.
Do you have pictures of that injury?
Yes. That's the only picture I have. I didn't take more. I just didn't think to take more. That was the same day.
Okay. So this is a healed scratch.
This is the old one.
Just a second.
Yeah.
This is a healed scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And these 2 marks come from this rooster attack on the 11th.
On the 11th, yes.
Okay. So did you seek emergency treatment for these?
No, I did not.
So there is no medical report?
No.
What did you do for these 2 marks?
These 2 marks are combined with my ankle. So when they both happened the same day, the same time, I also got injured on my ankle. The rooster, I whipped it down, it went down, and it pecked me 3 times.
On the ankle?
Yes.
Well, where's the photograph of it?
Right here.
I'd like to see it.
Actually, just take them out. They dated in order.
Well, what you're suggesting to me is that there's a puncture in your foot that caused it to swell.
Yeah, the
I'd like to see a medical record of that.
I don't have medical insurance. I don't go to the doctors here. What I did, I went to Mexico. I saw a certified pharmacist. I do all my medications through Mexico. I don't have health insurance. I'm a Rasta. So I don't go to the doctor here. What I do is I have 28 years experience in the medical field. I'm a retired RN. I worked for the Navy, Balboa Medical Center. So I took my medical advice and I had...
Whatever it was, you treated this
on my
alleged wound on your foot from the rooster.
Yes.
Go. Let's not even talk about December 8th when she got scratched. I don't have to hear about it. I want you to go
By the time it was December 11th, there had been previous conversations about steering clear of the rooster because it was aggressive.
Which is probably why it's not legal.
Yes, entirely true. Also because it's quite noisy, more to the point.
He didn't interrupt you. Don't interrupt him.
The conversation at the door when Miss Thomas walked in was heated, and it was...
Why was it heated, Mr. Erdman?
Miss Thomas was extremely angry that the papers weren't taken up and gave me a lecture about it.
No, that's a conclusion. What did she say, and what did you say?
I don't have an exact recollection of it. I can say that it was heated. I'm going to leave it at that.
Heated on both sides or heated on just one side?
Both sides.
Both. Okay, so now there's a heated discussion. The heated discussion is over. She continues to do her work.
Yeah, it affected the dynamics of the next hour, I would say. And that was part of the lack of additional dialogue concerning the whereabouts of the rooster who was out with the chickens free range every day. So rather than asking me, or rather than closing the doors, as there had been discussions about keeping away from the rooster, the doors were left open. I would say by both of us, I would say. There was a chicken in the house because it was going to go to the vets. Yes, Miss Thomas was scratched by the rooster. The rooster can't fly up high up enough to scratch. There's a thing called flogging, which is where they use the back of their claws to go at people. I did express concern. I asked if she needed attention. And
that was on the 11th?
Yes.
Okay. On the 11th, did you see these 2 claw marks on her arm?
I only remember the one towards her ankle. She showed it to me.
But nothing on the arm?
We didn't discuss the arm, so I can't tell you that. I'm sorry.
Okay. After the 11th of December, did Miss Thomas come back to work for you?
I haven't kept the record, but I do not think so.
After the 11th, Miss Thomas, did you come back to work for Mr. Erdman?
No, I got terminated the same night.
Tell me how that happened.
I sent him a text message with the pictures of my injuries.
I'd like to see the text message that you sent him, and I'd like to see his response.
Here. So she sent you a note on that day showing you her swollen foot.
Yes, I remember.
And you said to her, "Good evening, I'm sorry to see that your foot is swollen. I will talk to the vet on Tuesday about trimming back his claw."
Correct.
And then you say to her, "Judy, I think that under the circumstances, that as much as I regret it, it would not be a good idea to have you here on a regular basis. Unfortunately, there is nothing more to discuss on the subject. You are always, of course, welcome here with Jose's invitation. Happy holidays to you. All the best." Now, you sent the defendant a photograph of your foot, and it was clearly swollen. You treated it yourself. How long did it take after you treated it yourself for the swelling to go down?
3.5 weeks.
Do you have any proof of that?
It's only shows in the picture because they are dated. I have 8 weeks of pictures, so they all dated in the back. That's the process of the healing. So it starts with the 8th until the 29th of December, and then I have the other ones that show from December until the end of January, where it's getting better and better, but these are all
Ms.
dated.
Thomas, did you go to see an attorney?
No.
These are very angry pictures.
Judy Thomas claims her former employer, Robert Erdman, owes for medical costs and lost wages resulting from 2 rooster attacks.
Now, did you ever think of getting a tetanus shot?
I had my last tetanus shot 7 years ago.
So what did you do to treat
I
this
took antibiotics.
that you got yourself?
Yes.
From Mexico?
Yes.
Did you ever communicate with the defendant after December 11th?
Yes.
When?
I sent him text messages from the 11th. I have him in my phone. I almost communicated with him on a weekly basis. I send him pictures, updates.
I would like to see the last update you sent him with regard to your injury. Do you recall when that was, Mr. Erdman?
No, I do not. I deleted all the messages from Ms. Wahlberg about a month ago when I was leaving for where I was going next.
Didn't you think that by keeping you updated that she was going to sue you? I mean, otherwise, why would she keep you updated?
Here.
Did I think she was sue me? It's plausible. I didn't think of it on a regular basis.
The update, yes.
Okay, so the last email that you sent him with a photograph was on the 1st of January of 2021. And it's a 3-week update today. Still very sore with a hard bump at both sites, palpable at the touch and visible to the eye. Right forearm is healed with visible scarring. And then on January 3rd, Mr. Erdman writes back to you, "I have repeatedly texted your son regarding his move out. He has notified me of his intention to move out on the 3rd, which is tomorrow. The rent is due on the 1st of the month, and while I have made allowances for him for late payment, that is no longer an option. I would suggest that you make sure that he's getting his text in case he has had issues with his phone. I have no interest in hearing back from you. I am contacting you so that there is sufficient evidence that I have tried my best to contact Jose." And then you respond to him, "Listen, real good, you piece of blank landlord. First off, your mistake is you have no contact with my son. He does not have to move out on January 3rd, 2021. What is wrong with you? Do you know anything about renters' rights?" And then there's an expletive. "He only lived there 2.5 months, and you went crazy as so-called landlord. Now he is moving, and you as a landlord need to give him his appropriate time to move out and find appropriate accommodations. I do not understand your problem, but you need help. Also, now regarding the injury I sustained in December 2020 at your home by your rooster while in your cleaning service, would you like to address this issue? I have been contacting you for at least 3 weeks via text. Called, did not get any answer, and forwarded my injury pictures regarding this injury, and you have not responded once. Please let me know how you would like to handle or move forward with this issue by the end of January. After this date, I will file a case in small claims court against you with a valid animal control case. Looking forward to hearing from you." Okay, so she did contact you, Mr. Erdman, and send you photographs during that 3-week period of her swollen leg, an injury. How did you propose to address it? You do understand that the animal injured her on your property while she was working there, and you are responsible for that.
I would say that the aggressive behavior kept me from knowing what to do, and if she was going to take me to small claims court, she would do so. It's very simple. Her behavior and that kind of language was enough in that text.
Well, enough after 3 weeks of contacting you when she hadn't heard from you, Mr. Erdman. I mean, neither one of you appear to be aggressive kind of people. The fact that you resorted to language that was unbecoming a lady.
Can
that
I
happens.
say why?
No. It's not important. You did. And he should have responded because it was his animal. His animal became aggressive. He was there. It was his responsibility to contain what he knew to be an aggressive animal. He evidently knew that one of the claws was too long. You didn't do anything aggressively towards the animal. He is responsible for it. You're suing him for $7,000. I actually believe that you are entitled to that. You had at least 3 weeks' worth of injury and discomfort, and I think that you are entitled to what you're suing for, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $7,000. We're finished.
Court is adjourned.
The rooster was supposed to be kept in its coop at all times while I was in service.
You'd have to ask her why she kept on coming back. I have no idea why.
And I believe he purposely left the rooster out.
Oh, I think it's just a difference in attitude about life in general.
Just a very eccentric guy, so there was lots of ups and downs having to deal with, age differences and everything like that. So.
Don't buy chickens and you might get a rooster.
Thank you, Judge Judy, for giving this Judy justice.
Well, that was a much more interesting case than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I'd say so. And I was surprised that you granted her the entire $7,000 that she was asking for with no medical bills, no receipts, I just thought that was interesting, sort of out of character for you.
I was moved by the fact that she wasn't making up her injury, that she had documented both in photograph and in text messages to him over that whole 3-week period, that her leg was swollen. He acknowledged that he saw the injury on the day that it happened. And the fact that during that 3-week period, he didn't say, is there something that you need from me? Acknowledging responsibility. Yeah. He did not. And she suffered an injury for 3 weeks.
Yeah. And I was impressed that she documented it. I loved your question. Did you meet with an attorney before you started documenting? No. She knew that it was going to be something that was going to come up later, and she kept her documents in order, which is just how we like it.
Right. Perfect. I think she was much more credible, and I was surprised at the case and surprised at the outcome.
Yeah.
And that's unusual.